Hey guys, sorry about being a little bit late on. I had to grab myself some tea after waking up very late because I did not actually go to sleep last night. And so my only sleep was an afternoon nap contemplating doing the stream. And now I have to figure out how to get rid of that glare one day on that painting. Not painting, but that graphic. Always annoying when you add something new to the set and everything gets thrown off because look at that. That's annoying. We'll have to figure out a way of like moving that in such a way where such a way where we don't end up seeing all that glare coming off of the light there. But I think we will learn to live with it. So tonight we have the Battle River-Crowfoot election results. I'm starting early because I didn't want to start right when they're counting ballots. But we can always I have it up the all of the results on who's on the website for the election for the Elections Canada, and naturally the thing looks like an absolute dog's breakfast because there are that many candidates. Isn't that something to look at right there? The good thing is hopefully this means it will be easier. I hope that they actually start ordering them in who's leading rather than me having to scroll down and find out who's leading. But far be it from me to tell Elections Canada how to do their job. I'm happy to see Frank Vaughn in the chat today. It's always fun to see Frank. And hey, BitAlB says, good luck with the subs tonight, Wyatt. It was really slow for a long time, and now it's finally picked up yet again. And every time that we go up by 100, that number should be jumping up. So that'd be fun if that happens during the course of the live stream. But thanks right off the bat to Verinder Sidhu for the $2 super chat. About time you did a live stream. Well, naturally, it's become some sort of a trend to do a live stream even during these like small time by-elections. So we ended up doing one even for like the Alberta by-elections, the three random ones in Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills, and then Ellerslie and Strathcona. And now we're doing it for Battle River-Crowfoot. And so maybe you guys want to give me what you think you're going to, what do you think Pierre Poilievre is going to be in chat? What do you think the percentage of the vote that Pierre Poilievre will win? Mine is, I think he's going to get like 71, 72%. Just seems like a reasonable number to me. He's obviously not going to do as well as Damien Kirk did because the Liberals and the media are very focused in on this riding, trying to make his percentage of the vote lower. I don't really think it's going to matter at the end of the day. Like, if he gets 68%, you're going to have the media making a big deal about it. Like, oh, well, Damien Kirk had 82 or 83 or whatever. And now Poilievre has 68%. Does this mean it's over for him? It's like, it's a by-election. It's a by-election in the safest seat on the planet where a lot of conservatives naturally aren't going to bother showing up because they always win in this riding. Frank says, you're the reason I'm not doing one. So sorry, Frank, that I ended up doing this and I don't know, depriving you of the opportunity. Maybe you can even swing by the channel if you want. Let me know if you want to jump on board and I can send you an invite to talk for a little bit because we got like nothing to do until 9. We have $2 from Raptor Guy saying Critchley is Aaron O'Fool 2.0. I would say that Bonnie Critchley is obviously even more liberal than even Aaron O'Toole. She's such an obvious front for the liberal media. It would be too obvious for the liberal media to be saying, maybe people should vote for the liberal candidate. And so they have an easy out with Bonnie Critchley. So they're not telling you to vote liberal. They're just telling you to vote for someone who would obviously, in another context, probably end up being a liberal candidate. It's dishonest. They know what they're doing. They just want the plausible deniability. Oh, we're not partisan. We're not telling you to vote for a liberal. We're telling you to vote for an independent. We're just pumping up this random person nobody knows anything about because, oh, she's just interesting. No, she's not. Whatever. CJ Canada for $5 says, thanks as always for keeping us updated, better yet live. Well, thank you. Thanks for watching the show and thanks for supporting the show. I like the live streams and I think I'm pretty well suited to them just because I like to talk fast and, generally that's the skill set required to do live streaming. Although I can never watch live streams. Like it's not. I feel old watching like Twitch, and I hate Twitch. It's so bad. Um, I'm actually going to send an invite link to Frank if he wants to swing by uh, for fun. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a long time, but just a good time. So Frank, you do have that in your DMs on X if you want. We have Kelly Martin for $2 saying, "Where did you get the sub counter? I need one." I, in fact, had somebody make it for me. So in the channel lore, the epic channel lore, I have a bet with my 4 friends that if I don't make the 100,000 subscribers by mid-December of this year, subscribe, by the way, if you're not one, I owe all them dinner. And one of the guys' brother made me one, and it's not like he didn't have to. He found basically a code online, and then he grabbed some sort of a digital interface, uh, added the code to the interface, and then when you plug it in, it immediately will. You can basically add it as Bluetooth on your computer in order to connect it to the Wi-Fi, and it's also pre-programmed with the channel's ID. So when it plugs in, it immediately connects and tells you in the closest 100 where the channel is at. But yeah, that was fun. Franklin in the Dark just sends $10. Thank you for that. And we have David Edwards for $2 says subs were slow because of post-election depression. Legitimately, no doubt. I think a lot of people just check out of the news. And what happens in June is YouTube does a big algorithm reset. It's midsummer. It's slow for kind of all types of content oftentimes in June. It's summer. People are, hiking, going kayaking. They're on vacation. But the problem is whenever the algorithm has this soft reset, everything just dies. All content, uh, any niche content dies. So like, Mr. Beast type channels that younger people really, really, really like will still do well. American politics on the algorithm will still do well because it's American politics. It's a big topic. But Canadian politics, because it's a niche, it's like YouTube has to figure out who even watches this stuff again. And then so you get like, you'll have like one, they just do not give you any impressions. You'll put up a video that you're like, I know that that's the type of topics people really like to hear about, and after like an hour, you'll have had 5,000 impressions, which is nothing because a good click-through rate on YouTube is like early going is like 14-15%, and then it will usually dive down to 8%. So when you have 5,000 impressions, it means in an hour, if it's not your absolute best work ever, you get like 1,000 views after an entire hour, and it's just horrible. I'm gonna go back to normal comments, by the way, guys. I always have a rule where you don't have to super chat in any way, but naturally I do get to those first because it would be rude not to. But Graham finally son Fifi, I think I'm reading that right. Graham I son Fifi ZFS for $5. Thank you for that. Says he will win a 22% plurality with the votes for the longest candidate evenly split. Okay, so Poilievre is going to win 22% of the vote, and every other candidate is going to get like 0.2. Cora for $10 says, when you win the bet, pick the most expensive menu items. We're all very frugal individuals. We always go to places where we get a lot of value. It's between a Korean restaurant we go to a lot and like a Brazilian steakhouse. And then we have Hathor for $13.99. Thank you for supporting the channel there. With write-in ballots, do you think any of the LB candidates will actually get any votes? You're onto something very interesting. I bet so few of these guys are going to get one vote because you have to look at their name, you have to write it down, and then you'd put in the ballot box. It's not somebody with a massive ballot eventually just succumbing to boredom and just sticking an X on a guy. It is, you need to write it down. You need to care enough about that individual to write it down. I guarantee out of these like 195 people, most of them are not going to get a single vote. I just like how this question's phrased. Why do you think dumb liberals are retarded? I don't think that's. I I think that people, just based on where they're from the country, the context that they live, what their wealth is like, and all that, can end up voting for parties, oftentimes for reasons that aren't rational. But from their perspective, it doesn't really matter, and it's the party that makes them feel good to vote for because they're already comfortable, and so they don't really need to ponder the consequences of their actions. Andrew Kelly says, "Do you have a real job, Wyatt, or do you depend on morons to give you donations through your BS nonsense?" Wow, that's nice, Andrew Kelly. I mostly do get money from just passive ad views, no real super chats to that. And I have a job. I actually at one point had 3 jobs. I work a lot. I always like answering people's questions like that. Like, what's your actual problem here? Uh, Okay, you don't like the channel? Thanks for showing up and I guess giving it attention. Brat says, "Will we get the results tonight?" Hi from Bratney. Hey, Bratney from X. Will I think we will because it will be pretty easy to count because it'll just be like uh, Polia vote, Polia vote, Polia vote. But we have Frank Vaughn jumping on here in just a second. We have Wile E. Coyote saying, "Vote for Bonnie Critchley." Oh, by the way, guys, I think predictions. What do you think Bonnie Critchley is going to get? But yeah, we have CJ Kanda saying at the National Telegraph, "I try and send you at least $5 a month on YouTube. I have asked before where best to donate." Give, Send, Go, I guess, works well. I don't even mind if it's over super chat if you want to ask a question, obviously, because even though YouTube takes a cut of it, it also helps promote your videos more because they tend to be like, "Oh, hey, this channel does well." Uh, it's this kind of strange relationship where it's like you kind of like pay them to be nicer to you. So I'm always fine if they make money off stuff. And then I'm just gonna do this last super chat before bringing on Frank. Wrapped a guy for $5 says might release some parody lyrics tonight without Pierre to the tune of "Without Me, Eminem." Guess who's back? Scream and shout, Poilievre in the house. I think it's actually, yeah, that'd be good. You could probably AI that, honestly. Hunter the sports fan says, "Hey, Wyatt, will you and JJ McCullough ever collab again?" I could see that. I could easily see us collabing again. We talk a decent amount about random stuff going on, but our styles of channel are very different, so it doesn't overlap all the time. But now we have Mr. Franklin Vaughn himself. How's it going on? How's it going, Frank?
It's going good, man. And you have the best group of haters that have ever been collected under a channel. They always underestimate you, and you always give them attention. They give you lots of engagement, and they never see you coming. You're one of the most resilient people I know. They do good memes. You laugh at them. And I just think I think they try and they fail. And you've done a really good job with that.
Yeah. Well, I have fun with it because it's actually something that a guy both of us know, Daniel Boardman, says. If someone says, "I hate you, you suck, take your own life," it's like they basically just mean I disagree. And if there's someone's like, "I love you, you're the greatest," blah blah, like I will donate my blood plasma to you. It's like I agree. That's literally all it oftentimes means. Other than like, yeah, people like the style, people like the way things are done, which is fair. I have lots of people that I watch that I think they serve up news in a certain way that I think is really compelling. Like you do, I end up watching like a lot of your show, even though there's like really there's a lot. I watch American politics. I actually kind of get annoyed over time with American political commentators because everything in a certain sense gets so polished. I think they actually lose the art of commentary.
Mm-hmm. It's overproduced, and a lot of it's produced in a very similar style, very similar quality, similar focuses. Like there's kind of a I think what happens is when podcasting and YouTube kind of come into their own and actually become dominant, you're going to see maybe some androgyny come into it. So similitude in how they're filmed and how they're produced.
Yeah, someone comes around and they're like, no, this is the scientific way that you should be doing this, that maximizes viewer engagement, all these things. Like someone I still like, but I feel the show has gotten much worse, is Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, when the Daily Wire first starts up, or actually even back when I used to listen to him on like Seattle radio, fantastic. Takes on maybe 3 topics in the show, really, really talks through each one on what he thinks and he brings up fun, minute details that most people wouldn't care about, but he thinks they're important. And now the show's like him trying to go through like 6, 7 topics in an hour. And it's like, you might as well just be the newsman because there's no room for commentary. And so you have to fall back on very generic takes on different issues. Like I always want to tear my hair out because I like following the New York City mayoral race, and every time it's a good one, and it's like there are legitimately 3 different people who can win: Mamdani, Curtis Sliwa, and Andrew Cuomo. And every time Shapiro talks about that, he's like, "Oh, it looks like Mamdani's running away from it, according to this extremely progressive pollster." It's like, dude, what are you doing? It feels like your team handed you a script who don't know what they're talking about, and you cited this Zenith poll that says Mamdani's going to win. It's like you might as well be citing data for progress. It's a pollster that literally exists to pretend like progressives are more popular than they really are. But actually, before we, no, not really before anything, I wanted to quickly bring up this story because I found it hilarious for us to talk about. Your stuff when it comes to the United States and Canada is always really good, and I think that you'll probably get a kick out of this. So, did you see what CSIS just posted a little bit ago?
Probably not. This is breaking news for Frank Vaughn.
This is CSIS Canada. Back in June, CSIS launched its #Pride season celebrations with a few guest speakers. Thanks to the talented two-spirit hoop dancer Makian Rankin Gurian, the hilarious Canadian comedian Ava Vale, and inspirational public servant David Da Silva, and it keeps going on. It's like, we posted this. We don't get invited to the NATO talks. We don't get invited to any summit. We can't even be in the same state as Trump and Putin at the time that their meeting goes on. We can't be there for Zelensky. Nothing. But we get to celebrate Pride in the month of August in Canada through our National Intelligence Agency.
I think our National Intelligence Agency should be busy doing other things. It's just not, and it's not just them. There's a lot of areas of the bureaucracy where, like, I see this as just pure politicization. It's not just virtue signaling. It's ideology that's infected the bureaucratic layers of our government. I just wish they were more focused on other things. Like I've seen Canada Border Services do very similar signaling, but they don't really talk about how they're repairing ties with the United States and how the United States just doesn't trust them. The United States views Canada Border Services as corrupt enough that they get cut out of intelligence meetings with their U.S. counterparts. And we're talking about Pride. Like we should be talking about how to actually restore utility to these ministries rather than just have it be politics all the time.
Yeah. Well, and it is not even like the foreign meetings or talking with the Americans is even of highest priority. It's like doing the bare basics. How about we actually crack down on triads in the port systems in Canada? How about we crack down on other transnational gangs, terrorist organizations, whatnot? And it's like
real things.
Yeah, like that'd be tough. That'd be difficult to do. It's just asinine over time. And I even had a guy saying, this was okay. I needed to actually find this because it was so stupid. So I had a guy like trying to attack me for my take on this because I was just saying, hey, we don't get to actually be at meetings with other Western countries' intelligence, but we do get to celebrate Pride. And I had this guy, Marty Levesque, say, you want a spy agency to tweet what they are doing? And this like went on and on, like just him saying like, no, I'm good. Also, do you expect any spy agency to disclose what they're doing? And it's like, okay, I guess CSIS tweets dumb garbage now because I guess it's like what James Bond would do to throw people off his scent.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a staggeringly high cost that went into crafting and delivering that tweet. It's a free service, Twitter, but I'm sure there's some kind of cost that's incurred by the government to use it. It's something else. But I mean, back to what you were saying about just trying to be at these meetings or even just on a basic level, repairing our relationship with the United States. I've been saying in my videos, that America and Trump are not the same thing. And Canada's kind of treating Trump like he's never going to go away, and that the underlying structure of America that we trade with so much, we're doing all this irreparable damage to our relationship with these people. I don't really see anybody talking about fixing it. It's all about Trump. And I think the damage will go past Trump. If you're looking at this from a federal perspective, I don't know why all the federalists in the room are getting behind this idea that we're going to divorce America, we're going to offend America, and we got to run away from America. In 3 years, Trump's gone. And we got to live with him. We can't physically move the country somewhere else on the planet. Like, we're stuck living right beside this country, and we're being quite belligerent. Now, they might be being a little bit belligerent back, but I think they're entitled to it. I think it's fair for two parties when they get in an argument to go back and forth.
It's again, so obnoxious whenever we have to talk about the tariffs issue, and there are people who just genuinely do not care about the context that we've been tariffing their products for decades at this point, and they're like, well, Trump's trying to put a 35% tariff on us, blah blah, even though we have the way out, which is becoming USMCA compliant. Although I don't like when people say, well, see, it doesn't really matter if we sign a trade deal or not, because you can become USMCA compliant and not pay the duties. It's like, yeah, but the problem is it costs money to become USMCA compliant. That's why most companies didn't bother, because previously, the 5 to 7% tariff you'd spend on or you'd pay for any product that didn't follow all the regulations was considered a worthwhile trade for the cost of becoming compliant. Like, who cares? I'm just sending in some t-shirts. I'll pay 5%. So only about like 35% of products even bothered. And now most of them do, but it's not because we're avoiding higher costs. It's just that we are picking the higher cost that is lesser. But we went from, the elbows up, we're going to take on the Americans. Mark Carney's going to ride down on an Abrams tank to the White House and slap Trump across the face.
We're going to cut 1.5 million people off from their electricity.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my
God. With a smile on our face. With a smile on our face. A war crime or a crime against humanity.
That was like pitched as a real idea. Like, we're going to cut off their power and then we're going to bring them to the table. It's like, yeah, that's how that's going to work. We're just going to shut off the power and then they're going to do nothing and like beg.
Do you know why the public doesn't understand these things? Doesn't understand. They're not being educated, and this. The media is not educating them. Politicians aren't educating them. We're not telling them that, look, we tariff the world. I covered in today's video. It's an an Associated Press fact check of the idea that Canada tariffs the United States, and it was misleading. And so they went in to talk about the quota system and how on all these different products, there's a certain tonnage that's allowed into Canada that is tariff-free. But then if you exceed that, of course, the tariffs kick in. And thus, we don't collect a lot of money on those tariffs. And I'm like, the quota system is part of the mechanism, and the tariffs are so heavy that nobody wants to do business in Canada working as intended. I don't really see it as misleading. Maybe it's incomplete, but it doesn't. The media, my point is, the media is busy telling the public that they're being misled when we talk about the tariffs we charge other people. But they're not being misled. But the media, that instead of telling the full story, that's what they're consumed with, and the public is taking that in, right?
And I'm not saying this person has that sort of mindset who's saying that it's all America's fault, but it's a common thing. I'm not trying to single out Terry French here, but it's just a good framing to talk about the things that had happened before. Terry French says, Trump started the belligerence against Canada. We're retaliating as any country with dignity would. The problem is, though, it wasn't just the supply management tariffs. We had the Biden administration saying, do not pass that digital services tax, because we obviously know outside of Spotify, this is 95% affecting Silicon Valley companies out in Austin, Texas, New York. You're obviously just taxing us. And it's a bit of, it's a tax on everyone. But it's like if you only taxed, it's like if you taxed Smash Mouth albums, it's a tax on America. And I mean, like, but it's Smash Mouth albums everywhere. It's like, yeah, but where are they coming from? And so it was dishonest. So have we retaliated against the U.S. doing something? Sure. But from their perspective, they're also retaliating against the fact that we really don't pay our own way when it comes to defense spending, that we have these ridiculous, dairy and chicken tariffs on their farmers. Wisconsin is on the border. You think people who like to make cheese in Wisconsin wouldn't like to be able to sell into Canada rather than having to just, sell into like the deep south or the west? It's easier to just sell right over the border. And it would be good for Canadians. That's the kind of hidden secret, that the quota system is not even good for Canadian farmers, especially ones out west.
Well, and Terry talked about belligerence. Like, everything you said there is golden. But if we're going to go down to the mood, if we're going to go down to the tone, because that's what so much of our political discourse is about, is tone. The tonality of the Trudeau regime and his partner Singh towards the United States while Biden was in office was kind of friendly to Biden, but they never missed an opportunity to inflame the Republican base and inflame the Trumpian base, anticipating, I guess, that he was never going to return. So the idea that the belligerence started on his end, I just don't think it holds water. I think it's gone back and forth pretty evenly. And this whole thing started with this concept of reciprocal tariffs and the Americans being locked out to their disadvantage, whether it's good for us or not, whether we need to protect dairy and all the arguments that are protectionist in nature that we all seem to take for granted. I'm talking about the royal we. It's unfair to them. And from their perspective, they're allowed to have their perspective. Why are we disadvantaging ourselves to this nation? They're not even part of the country. And their prime minister openly insults the guy who just became president. I think they have a case for some belligerence.
And here's a Polar Vortex saying, okay, so it's ridiculous tariffs and the digital service tax that hadn't been passed when it all started. The problem is countries can see things coming down the pipeline. Again, why is Joe Biden, when he was president, taking time out of his life to say that, hey, guys, what's with this digital service tax? I thought we were supposed to have a open trade relationship. When you take stuff like that into account, and when you have the basic tariffs on certain products that have literally prevented Americans from selling pretty much anything into Canada for decades, they would see a 35% tariff on everything as being equivalent. Plus, the defense spending and many other things that America pays for that Canada doesn't have to pay for. Because people act like, well, who cares about defense spending? Who's going to attack Canada? It's like, well, in the context that America exists, definitely nobody. But people tend to take a lot of things for granted.
Very much so. There's results now, eh?
Are there?
Just so we don't derail too much.
I'll see. It's actually very difficult to see if there's results, because naturally this is what the ballot looks. Okay, there we go.
Do you have the Elections Canada website open?
What?
Elections Canada, they have a live tally. I'll send it to you.
I have this tally right here. This is the live tally right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the page. I wasn't looking at the screen.
Goodness. Looks like no, Bonnie Critchley was supposed to win and take the country back. I had somebody actually tweet that out the other day. Like, I can't wait until Bonnie Critchley beats Poilievre. Like, I didn't think Poilievre was going to lose his own seat in the election. And that was a little bit of, I was assuming, goodness, why would the Conservatives let him run in a seat that could be vulnerable unless they felt like they've surveyed it and it's secure? And, I guess I put too much stock into the talent of Jenny Byrne, and they didn't do it. But, like, there were people seriously thinking, like, Bonnie's going to take this one.
No. It's a matter of margin. So, like, this is almost 2% of the vote here. And to me, it's a matter of margin. Like, did the independents like Grant Abraham and the PPC, do they peel some of that conservative support away? Or is it going to be a very united showing? 87% is pretty strong as an open.
I don't want to be rude to anyone who ever runs for office and seemingly takes it seriously, shows up to events. But, like, when you see people like Jonathan Bridges at the PPC, who's run multiple times before, I believe. I think he's run at least twice in 25 and 21. And you get a vote. I know we're only a couple votes in. We were only a couple in, but, like, you got a vote.
He's competing with the independents. Now, how many of those have a single vote already?
It basically cuts off right there. So there's like, if I was to count this all up, I can just quickly count it manually. 1, 2, 3.
Like 9 or 10. No, not even, because the Libertarians ahead.
There's 16. There are 16 candidates with a vote, with a single vote, and there are 114 candidates. So there are 198 candidates who have no votes. So a STEM MG for 279 asked, Wyatt, are you Alberta born? Yes, and I am from Calgary. Always been from Calgary. I should probably make sure I go back and answer some of this stuff because this is relevant actually. BCDC78 for $6.99 says, "Have you told Jenny Byrne how you feel about her since the election? If you haven't, you should. Also bring back Brittany." Problem with Brittany, though, is we work for different parties right now in British Columbia, so naturally that probably isn't a good idea for her to want to join a live stream or something like that. People are sensitive out there. I wouldn't care if somebody was like from a rival party doing live streams together. But people are sensitive out there. But like Jenny knows I don't like her. She doesn't like me. And frankly, it's because I don't put up with nonsense. I don't put up with bad results or I don't like the way she does politics in general. In a certain sense, I actually kind of still see her touches on what the Conservatives are doing right now on the Air Canada strike. It's been determined that the safest thing for the Conservatives to do on this issue, and Poilievre has gotten better on many issues since the election, way better on immigration now. I will urge him that we need real tax reform. You don't just cut tax a little more than the Liberals in certain brackets. You just cut taxes across the board. But on this issue of Air Canada strikes, you have Conservative MPs. Not all of them. Some of them are taking the right stances, but some of them, maybe because this is being recommended to them from party advisors, but they're running like saying, "Oh, Carney is trying to serve his corporate buddies at Air Canada." I'm like, guys, Air Canada's bankrupt nearly. "Oh, but they made $3 billion. Do you think that's actually a lot for a company, for a large company that has like shareholders and whatnot? $3 billion's nothing. There are individuals who make more than $3 billion in half a year in the United States. Individuals. Elon Musk makes billions a year. And now we're thinking that a company that employs like tens of thousands of people just survives on like 5.7% margins forever." But yeah. Hampstead 343 for $2 says, "Results coming in, Poilievre at 90%. And we will be jumping back to it right here. It's quite bad. It's not a great look if you're not Pierre Poilievre in this riding.
85.9 is pretty intense movie.
We have Bonnie Critchley slowly climbing up to victory. What do you think is a respectable number for the PPC in this riding?
Probably 0.7%.
If they can do what they did in the election.
Yep. I mean, well, I don't know if I can't call that respectable. I can just say that maybe that's what'll happen. I mean, he's at 13 votes so far. Night is long. Things can change. Could be regional support. Tell me about Bonnie Critchley, because I'm going to confess that I haven't paid a lot of attention. I think she's the one that I see driving around and getting memed a lot. Why is she an independent? What happened there?
I have a miniature conspiracy theory on Bonnie Critchley here. People always have to lay off her a little bit. She genuinely was in the military, served a frontline combat role in like an armored unit as like a woman, like the second woman ever to do it. We can have a discussion if people want to say, should women be in those roles? Okay, she did a good job seemingly in that role, so neither here nor there. Bonnie Critchley, to me, feels like somebody who was tapped by a liberal organizer, an advisor saying, "Can you run for us?" Because, it's easier to promote a plucky independent candidate than it is plugging a corporate liberal candidate. So what I think the media wanted in this race was an independent that they could interview, put on podcasts, talk about, why is she getting so much buzz? There is no buzz. Nobody cares. Right. She's going to get blown out despite the fact that she's gotten probably more interviews with the media about this race than Pierre Poilievre himself has gotten. But the thing is, again, it gave the media license to talk about a candidate and talk about, why are people voting for this person instead of Pierre Poilievre? And I think that was it. Because you can even see from her campaign, she did tons of media, but outside of maybe a handful of lawn signs that she put out, it was, she'd like say like, "Hey, I'm here, guys, at a rodeo. Bye." And then that would be it. It was like obviously not actually campaigning. But again, it was a way for the media to try and like make a hometown hero for people to go and vote against, and then cast it as, look, Poilievre might not be as popular as you think. Because look, he only has 72% of the vote compared to 84, as if that even matters. By-elections have weird turnouts, and naturally in a riding as conservative as this, the default voters are going to be conservative, whereas the hardcore, people who, if you vote liberal in a riding like this, you're pretty hardcore liberal because you're never going to win.
Right.
But you're very likely to show up in a by-election to stick it at Poilievre. But in this by-election, it doesn't even look like that's happened. And Poilievre may actually look like he might come out with as much of a vote as Damien Currick had. But
we got to be pushing 5% now. What do we have? 4 or 5%? 4.2. 4.2 of polls in. So this is getting significant statistically.
Where are you seeing that?
What do we know about Darcy Spady? What do you know about her?
Darcy Spady? Oh, it's a man running for the Conservatives.
No, the Liberals.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, for the Liberals. Yeah, just some sort of oil and gas guy or whatever running for the Liberals. Yeah. Frankly, in a normal election, it's the type of guy you'd probably throw in there just to make just to try and pump up your numbers a bit. Have a guy who's a liberal, but not really that much of a liberal. He's the type of guy that maybe in an urban area would have been running for the Conservatives in Toronto. And obviously his numbers are doing nothing. I wouldn't be even shocked to hear that in the aftermath of this election, people were door knocking who were liberals for Bonnie Critchley, because again, it might be the easier pitch to people. And that's where I think that she's a complete front. She's a front so that people can use her for the purposes that they want. So yeah, it's one of those situations where I don't think Critchley would have run on her own unless she was encouraged to. But we have Poilievre still riding at 85%, so I'm going to let that go for a bit. I watched some of the town halls and whatnot, and honestly, good on Pierre Poilievre for showing up. I actually was thinking that maybe he shouldn't show up to any town halls or debates, because is it just going to become everyone ripping on him? But generally, people kept it more respectable than you would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, with that kind of vote share, even if there's some lukewarm in there, no, it's not enough for people to show up and harass them. And that riding is kind of out of the way. There's not a lot of public transport that takes people from Calgary and Edmonton all the way out there, and that usually cuts the number of protesters you get quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and which local crank is going to show up to protest in favor of liberal causes and attack Pierre Poilievre? At the end of the day, people were acting like, oh, is Poilievre yeah, he might not do as well as Damien Currick did, and that could still be shown as we go through the results here, that he does a little bit worse than Damien Currick. Maybe he does better. But the prediction was people wanted Damien Currick, and what Critchley kept saying is, oh, we're being sold out by Damien stepping down so the leader can have a seat. I'm like, I believe John A. McDonald needed to win and needed to switch seats with someone at one point. William Lyon Mackenzie King did it twice. I don't remember hearing Bonnie Critchley's dissertation on why that was such a bad thing. It's a fake reason. Oh, we're being sold out. What do you mean? Because a leader needs to be present in the House of Commons to get stuff done? Well, we have Nenshi in Alberta running in a riding that he obviously doesn't live in. He needs a seat. I don't care. It makes sense. I'm not going to be like, oh, he's actually the Calgary guy, but he's running up in Edmonton. What, was he going to force one of the NDPs to step down? Rachel Notley was already stepping down, and then in Ellerslie, some other guy. That was actually a really funny situation. Do you know what happened in that one other Alberta riding that had a by-election? There was that one in Old Three Hills.
I guarantee not as well as you.
What happened was this guy, Rob La Jolla, who was a full-on communist, who was a BC NDP MLA, he thought he could do bigger and better things by jumping over to federal politics. So he jumped over. The Liberals made him their candidate, and then they realized he was a nutcase, but he had already resigned from his BC NDP MLA seat, and then they kicked him out, so he has no seat at all. And then the NDP just replaced him in the by-election. I think he ended up running as an independent in some riding federally and got 7% of the vote. It was funny. So, that would be really funny if the NDP just encouraged him to move on, knowing that he'd just get kicked out of a federal seat because they wanted to replace him with someone better.
So you know all these little things about Canadian politics, all the details.
Yeah, it's decently interesting. And half the time I'm listening to other people. It's not like I'm searching.
The Conservative Party, after the election, there was a lot of discussion. I think everybody made up their mind that Pierre Poilievre was it. That's the leader. That's the guy. He's been basically rising to that position for over a decade, and he was kind of meant for it, and they had to keep him. So, of course, in Canadian politics, you have to find him a riding somewhere. And if you're going to find him a riding, you might as well find him the safest riding in the entire country, which is what they did. Because look at it's the 212 ballot, what they put on this thing, plus what they did. And I know it's symbolic, but it's not. It's like there's the media targeting this guy. There's his own constituency in some ways targeting this guy. Like the Americans had torpedoed his campaign or helped torpedo his campaign. Like he had a lot of stuff going against him. Considering you might want to go to the safest possible seat. Now, what did the former candidate, what did he get? Was it 87?
It was like 83, 80. I think it's like 82, 84 or whatever like that. But it was like, low 80s or something.
One thing I didn't have or don't have on my bingo card is Pierre doing better than him. That's not on my bingo card at all. That would come as a total surprise to me.
Yeah, that's still in the cards tonight because he's
technically
at the moment doing a little bit better. And I can see naturally a lot of people wanted to play this up as, oh, is someone going to be able to get Poilievre in this by-election or at least embarrass him or something like that? He's going to do worse and Bonnie Critchley is going to get like 18% of the vote. And we're going to be like, oh, whoa, what's this here? And it's like, yeah, but people on the ground don't think like that in terms of politics. Like they don't think about what could help out the liberal narrative against Poilievre the best. Oh yeah, I'm going to show up and vote in an election that really doesn't matter so that the liberals get to put a graphic out saying, look, Poilievre got only 72% of the vote, whereas Damien Carr got 82% of the vote. Really makes you think. It's like, it's not how normal people think.
Well, when it comes to by-elections, it tends to be lower voter turnout, but the voters that turn out are far more engaged, and they're engaged in the kind of thinking that you're describing right now. So I think that's more than fair. But it was noise. I mean, there was a lot of noise. I haven't talked about this much at all because I thought for a by-election, it's noisy enough out there for the last month. I let everybody else talk about it.
I didn't really like when people posted too much that Poilievre's going to smash this thing, blah, blah, blah. It's like cheerleading posts on X. And it's like, guys, yeah, it's like standard operating procedure. Like I kind of get annoyed a little bit with like cheerleader culture for parties on social media. They're, like the kind of like, posting an AI image of like Pierre Poilievre with abs or whatever and being like, we're going to win this thing. Like, it's like, no, please stop. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, do it in the general if you're going to do it at all.
But we have a super chat from Matt Baker 87 here for $5. Thank you for that. Your channel appeared in my suggestion feed before the last federal election, and you've been doing a great job presenting polling data. Keep it up. That is genuinely like one of my favorite types of videos to do is the polling data, because I think literally looking at the numbers of where parties stand is interesting. And I guarantee this whole Air Canada scenario, this fiasco, is going to hurt the Liberals badly. And some people will be like, oh, well, Liberals won't learn. Most of them are still going to vote Liberal. It's like, well, yeah, but elections are not won, based on the Liberals falling by 2/3. They're going to lose the next election if they do lose by losing, a fifth of their voters, losing even just a sixth of them. They fall down by 5 points in the polls. The Conservatives gain 3 or 4 and end up beating them in the popular vote by 2.5%. And that's enough for like a strong minority or majority. And this whole Air Canada fiasco is just so bad for the Liberals. They have taken it's like they measured it out with a rule, how to have the exact dumbest position possible. It's not the NDP rah workers position. It's not the Conservatives saying like, although I wish more Conservatives would do this, but many of them are doing this, that like, the economy sucks, the taxes in this country suck, be fair to workers, this more fulsome approach of wanting deregulation and lower taxes. And so like the Liberals were like, okay, let's just openly seem like we're taking the side of Air Canada. And Air Canada isn't even necessarily wrong. And they don't even come out and explain, well, that this company's struggling, the attendants are struggling, so the government's going to step in and help. I don't think the government needs to help. I think they need to get out of the way more than anything. Actually, make it so that these airlines aren't paying like 35-40% of their revenue every year in taxes. whatever though. But they just like were just like forcing people back to work. It's like, wow, this is such a great propaganda moment for the NDP. Like nobody cares who Don Davies is. But Don Davies now gets to have this moment where he gets to microphone, gets to yell about, the workers and the people in front of an airport and gets a bunch of juice in the media. I'm happy to see it because it's going to hurt the liberals, but whatever.
Well, and it also makes Carney look ineffective when they do a back to work order and they're basically told, nah, we're not gonna obey the law. We're just gonna do our own thing, kind of forcing his hand. And the other thing too is what's actually going to land with the liberal base is something I don't think conservatives are very good at predicting, because the big things don't land. Like if you go to a Wikipedia page dedicated to the number of scandals that have happened in political scandals in Canadian political history, half of them come from the Trudeau era, and a lot of it doesn't land. The hypocrisy doesn't land. But stranding a liberal's daughter in Vietnam so they have no way to get home, and that's a hypothetical situation, but I've had two different people that I've been talking to that have been affected by the sudden Air Canada cancellations, and they're basically told, you're on your own, figure it out yourself. Now, if that was a private company, it wouldn't go down that way, or sorry, not a private company, but maybe a different company is what I should say. But maybe this lands harder.
Mm-hmm. I think it's an attritional thing, because those scandals on the Liberals, because I'm just kind of responding to what Clyde Do Something is saying here. Air Canada strike will be forgotten by the 2029 election. Well, sure, but I think that that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be some NDP crossover voters. They used to vote NDP every election. They voted Liberal in 25. That this is going to be their reason to go back to supporting the NDP again. And that's what I mean. In a general sense, is this going to be forgotten? Sure. But is it going to, in 2.5 years, remain pretty important to 2% of voters who were NDP voters voting Liberal who then shifted back? In a general sense, it was forgotten, but specific voters remember. There's a reason why we will end up, citing very particular things that Justin Trudeau said or did back in the day that really bothers us. His whole statement about how Canada is a post-national country. Do most people even know he said that? No, but for people who care about it, they'll never forgive him for saying something that, anti-Canadian as his part of his guiding philosophy about what Canada should be as a country. So yeah, do 98% of people know he said that? No, but the 2% of people who know he said that hate his guts for it and probably volunteer for the Conservatives just to mess him over.
Well, and the other thing the thing that just stood out to me is Clyde mentioned 2029 is the next election. And we all just accepted that as reality, forgetting that this is a minority government. And such a thing in our past usually meant that you would get an election within a year, 2, 3 at most. And now we can virtually expect it not to happen for at least 4. Everybody's accepted that they're here to stay, and they're not going anywhere. And that's, to me, at least at 45 years old, that's a big change, because minority governments, it's always speculation about when it falls. And that's changed. Another legacy of Trudeau.
If the NDP is smart, they would actually go out and they would be the ones to trigger the election. It's what Leighton did in 2004. After 2004, Leighton held all the cards and said, I'm going to call an election whenever it suits me. And so when Paul Martin had basically crossed Leighton in 2005 and was basically trying to bully him into voting for things and supporting things he didn't want to support, Leighton pulled the plug on the government and then went to an election. Now, obviously, Leighton alone can't pull the plug, but he knows the Conservatives want an election as soon as possible. And so he sits there saying, okay, you better give me what I want. We're going to an election. And Jack Layton, whatever you think about his politics, had killer instinct for elections. The man knew the exact time in order to capitalize and grow his party. Jagmeet Singh was the exact opposite of Jack Layton.
He killed it. He killed Layton's legacy.
Jagmeet Singh sees risk and he runs away, whereas Layton sees a potential gamble where if we do this right, we will double our seats. And as a party leader, your job is to grow your party's power. That is all you are supposed to do as a party leader and, national party director and whatnot. you serve the party and its base. And so you make decisions that are going to give your party as much power and influence. Sometimes that means you prop up a government who will do what you want in office. But as soon as that stops being a great deal, and as soon as now you're having to carry the negatives that they're generating through their bad policy that they're trying to get you to rubber stamp, that's when you pull the plug. Like, there are so many times that if Jagmeet Singh had called the election in September of 2024, probably would have gained probably 24 seats at least.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's shortly in the wake of the election, I was talking about that. And there's this redemption arc story for the NDP. It doesn't get much worse for them. They're broke. They only have, 7 seats. They're effectively locked out. The only thing that's saving them right now is their minority status. But if they actually want to build for the future, they can't do it by rubber stamping the Liberal agenda. One of the reasons they may not have had any meaningful votes in the 3 weeks is simply that the NDP may not be willing to vote with them for very long this time around. If they're actually plotting a future, then they have to go opposition and adversarial again. That's the redemption arc.
And even when you are not trying to defeat the government, what you do is you beat them and embarrass them on votes. And they've already done that twice so far, where they voted with Conservatives in the bloc, forcing the spring, demanding the spring budget. There was another issue where they ended up voting to compel the Liberals to do something. And this is another one of those things where, do people actually care? Do people even remember that happened? 99% of people probably don't, and maybe 5% of people remember that the House of Commons voted to compel the Liberals to table the spring budget, and the Liberals defied them. It's like, is that a big issue? No, but it's flavor. It's kind of just little bits of flavor going into the soup that is going to be the context of the next election. And it's the NDP and the Conservatives demonstrating that we are basically saying we would be doing this if it wasn't for these guys holding it up. And it's just that narrative that you build. And narratives aren't just built out of, massive pillars. You also need your small little bricks and your plaster and whatnot in order to put the whole thing together.
Mm-hmm. We're running at about 8% now.
Where are you seeing where the turnout is?
I'm wondering why, if CBC is going to call this thing. I mean,
you're looking at the CBC one? Maybe I should look at that one as well. That one might be better, because every time the Elections Canada official website reloads, it kicks me back up to the top corner because I try and zoom in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to. Okay, can I see this? Come on, guys. It looks like Toronto Star has a live update. You have to subscribe to them. I don't like that.
You have to subscribe for every single thing, even 11-year-old articles. They want money. And it's not a little bit of money. Their regular price is something like $300 a year. That's after they get $112,000 a week in subsidies from the federal government. They're greedy. You want to talk about corporate greed? Let's talk about Toronto Star.
Well, and the fact that they got the first online gambling license from the Ford government, in case you were still under the impression, any of you out there, that Ford's a conservative. To please the Torstar, he gave them the first online gambling license to help buoy their revenues. But yeah, they get government money directly. They have general numbers. They have general grants that everyone has access to, that they access. They have specific grants that they can access. These people are getting millions of dollars in taxpayer money and subsidies, and you can't have anything for free.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like an 11-year-old article. You can just download an app and bypass it all anyway if you want to. Mm-hmm. I don't tend to, because I don't care. I'll sometimes you can get the exact same article from somewhere else with no paywall at all.
You're right. Sometimes it's a Canada Press article that they're just republishing, but you have to pay them for it, whereas your local CBC affiliate just has it for free. Leah Jet asks, Wyatt, what if Nate Erskine Smith crosses the floor to Conservatives on day one in House of Commons? It's not going to happen. Nate is a leftist. He is a leftist liberal. And yes, he's been attacking. He basically took a shot at Carney for the Air Canada situation, saying it was something along the lines of, there are some complex labor disputes, but this isn't one of them. We need to support workers and all that. And it was obviously basically saying that Carney and the Liberals are doing a bad job on this particular file. And but but I don't see him ever joining the Conservatives. The man's a radical vegan who's tried to push laws to basically, tax meat more and stuff like that. You'd be more likely to join the NDP or join the Green Party.
All right, so the number to beat is 82.84.
82.84 from Kurek in the last one?
Yeah, I believe so.
And so what we need
last election, 82.84 conservative. Yeah, it's the wiki's funny because it's got Poilievre's face over it. Or maybe, yeah, 82.84 last election. Yep. So he's running ahead.
Grant Abraham's going to feel good about himself if he does better than the NDP in this riding. He's currently in 4th place.
Yep.
I did find, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Wyatt, you should talk to Grant Abraham. You should have him on. Oh, he said this thing that was really based or something. It's like, if you watch Grant Abraham long enough, though, he will engage in really dishonest attacks on the Conservatives in ways where, like, don't do that. Just leave it alone. I remember at one point he attacked Poilievre as being like, oh, why isn't he getting a security clearance? I'm like, why are you using this talking point? It's such a lame talking point that you're using in order to attack him. It's debunked. There's no point in doing it. They're going to do a background check on Poilievre's dog if he does it. Like they do a background check on every single person in your family, interview them all. For what benefit? That you're going to show? He's already done background checks himself. He can pass them. And it was a worthless endeavor to the point where Thomas Mulcair, the former NDP leader, said, yeah, I would also not subject myself to a background check for no benefit whatsoever.
I think in politics, there's a certain amount of talking points, and there's a certain amount of, like, even in alternative third-party politics, there's the same arguments that get recycled to try and create political space. I don't really see anybody thinking outside the box. Like, there might be differences on policy and whatever, but the approach between political candidates, there's not a lot of variety in the arguments that you see. I'd be interested to see if Grant wants to talk after the by-election.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to have a conversation.
Yeah. And that's what I would also have said about what was going on. I'm not exactly like the guy who's going to go around interviewing all the candidates. I'm not interviewing Pierre Poilievre either. And you say, well, he doesn't need the help. It's like, well, at the end of the day, you kind of have to go and campaign for yourself. I can't help you win in this riding. And so why would I bring you on in a context where it's going to look like I'm trying to like support you? It's not because I like hate you. It's just that, it's just not what this is about. But since I've been seeing Clyde in the live chat, I've dropped Clyde a link if he wants to jump on the live stream just for the, craps and giggles of the whole thing. Naturally, we don't have to be here very long tonight because I think we can all see where this entire election is going already.
It's tightening. It's tightening big time. He's down to 84.3.
Oh my goodness.
Lonnie Critchley's coming up.
The downfall is starting.
Yeah.
How many? Look how far you down you have to go until you find just the 0 vote crew. Mm-hmm. Good job, boys.
You should be able to hide them.
What?
You should be able to hide that. You know what I mean? Hide 0 votes.
With the budget the Elections Canada has, yeah, you think you'd be able to do this. But hello, Clyde. How's it going? Are you are you firmly in the Bonnie Critchley camp?
I'm not in any camp. I don't care. It's an inconsequential election to bring back Pierre Poilievre so he can have his quips for the next 3.5 years until we see another election. The quips, and they're going to be good quips. Believe me, they're good quips. The passive aggressive games, or what we call the question period, once a few times a week. We get to go watch that. I have a hard time with it personally myself, but
I genuinely
Pierre he's proven himself to be a very good conservative leader of the opposition.
Yeah, I genuinely don't watch the question period that much. Like if something big happens, I'll reference it, but you'll get people who'd like do a reaction video to the result, to what's going on in question period every day. I'm like, it genuinely is sometimes the same thing being repeated every single day. Like I work for 1BC in British Columbia, And our thing with the Conservatives is that we don't understand why they ask the same questions every single legislature sitting. It's like, why? You're not getting any benefit out of any of this. Like the fifth time someone asks a question about fentanyl on the same day does not grow your popularity. It's ridiculous. And so I've just taken to calling it the Eleanor Sturko sing along, because it's either Eleanor Sturko or Peter Milabar, the MLAs leading the children, the MLAs in the BC Conservative Caucus, saying, so what if we literally Eleanor Sturko will do like a what did we learn today kind of a thing. It turns out that crime is bad, and from all the questions that we've asked about crime today, crime is still in fact bad. It's like, have a out of the box question. Catch EB by surprise. Like, as the independents and now the 1BC MLAs, we are able to ask really out of the box questions about corruption with the CCP and whatnot, and it takes EB by surprise. I'm not even kidding. We had an NDP MLA when Tara Armstrong, one of our MLAs, went after EB for his connections with Ding Guo, CCP connected individual who was his advisor to EB. When she started asking that question, I know this one NDP guy who hates EB's guts. He looks up at the gallery where like there was a lot of 1BC staff members, and he just smiled because he knew that David was not going to have a fun time.
So that's the idea, the thought that question period is actually trying to get answers for the questions. They call it question period for a reason. They don't call it answer period. It really has turned into a new thing in this new day and age of social media, where question period is literally the spot where each politician can do a grandstand, do their thing where they have their quip, and then they can put it on social media. It's really an exercise in that anymore. Any previous purpose for question period is long over.
Let's be clear too. A big reason for question period is so that MPs can flex a little bit. They can show their personalities. They can use it for clips later on social media so that people will follow them. It's kind of just that, because people eventually.
Pageantry.
Yeah, it's pageantry, and pageantry has its place in politics, but some people will take it like super seriously. Like the Liberals just got exposed there. It's like, not really. They just ducked a question. Yeah, everyone knows that they're lying, and that's kind of it.
Well, it matters close to elections. That's when it really matters. But as I'm disagreeing with some of the people in the chat, some people are disagreeing with me. I don't know where you guys stand on this. I don't see an election coming anytime soon. This election that we're talking about right now is just to get Pierre back into his position as the leader of the opposition, and it's just an exercise in that, really.
And the better the Conservatives do, the less likely that Carney would ever call an election.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And with the power really is in the hands of the Bloc Québécois at this point. Because the
NDP, yeah,
there's
one or the other.
Could be, one or the other. Could be a bit of chance of the NDP. I don't see that, but they do have more to win out of this. So if an election did get called, they could get more seats back, which they've just largely destroyed the party. I don't know. Do people even have a stomach for the NDP anymore? But I look at it this way: the Bloc Québécois have more to gain with the Liberals in power than with the Conservatives in power. I don't see them wanting a popular Conservative party going into an election. I don't see that happening. It's not that the Conservatives won't give them certain concessions or certain things. It's just the Liberals will give them so much more.
Well, the one problem that the Liberals have right now with the Bloc is just the fact that it's obviously not a elbows up kind of a party. They don't fit the Liberal ethos, because it's a party that genuinely doesn't care about Canada. Like you'll see all these clips of Francois Blanchette saying, "Oh yeah, like Canada is a nation." Well, I would have to basically saying there's nothing that binds Canada together, and who gives a crap and whatnot. And it's like, wow, that's Carney can't exactly work with these guys. I know he'd probably still be willing to, depending on the issue, but it would look bad for the long-term prospects of the Liberals to be sidling up with the guys who don't even think the country's legitimate at the same time.
They'll totally do that to stay. Anytime that there's a vote that will be a confidence vote, they'll absolutely the Bloc Québécois will bring up some stink about something that they want, and the Liberals will capitulate so that they get their support.
Or the NDP and the Bloc will just kind of keep tag teaming on who keeps the government in power. And generally speaking, like it's smart for them to do that right now, because I guarantee both parties are pretty flat broke at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody in Canada that's really interested in an election. I don't even think the Conservatives are interested in an election right now. Maybe in a year or 2 years, but I don't think the Americans want an election. I don't think Europe wants an election. So I think we're stuck with it for a while.
I just want to move on to the super chat right here. Raptor guy for $5 says Bonnie Critchley looks like the female fat E from Austin Powers. I'm not going to comment on that. You can have that opinion. I don't agree, but Xander Silverline descends in $2. Thank you for that. Matt Baker 87. Is that the Matt Baker from that Matt Baker channel? Baked on Things. $5 says Pierre and the CPC needs to take a different stance on the USA. Maybe not pissing off the country where 80% of Canadian business is done is a good first step. It's not even like they need to be like pro-US. They just need to not parrot what the Liberals say. Like, stop
it's such a simple message.
Retaliatory tariffs.
Talk about how the government that's been in power for 10 years has completely ruined our relationship with the United States. And while Trump might sound like you can still dump on Trump if you want, do it tactfully, and then advocate for a diplomatic approach that repairs the world's best relationship. Like, I don't know why that was never tried. Like, why did the CPC just go right to Team Canada and identical talking points? I maybe you can provide some insight, but I don't understand that. There's a middle path no one treaded.
The rhetoric of the unjustified tariffs is something that the Conservatives should abandon, because actually the fact that they're justifiable, especially the punitive tariffs, could be a talking point for the Conservatives. They could definitely say, well, they are justifiable when you look at the fentanyl issue in the country, when you look at all the things that the Liberals are allowing to happen and nothing's being done about it. Yeah, this is a big problem, and we would fix this problem and it wouldn't be an issue. So we wouldn't have these punitive tariffs on us as a country if we were in government and doing something about it. But no, they just went straight for the unjustifiable tariffs, and we're just going to give you the same messaging that Carney's giving you, only with a face that Liberals can't love.
Well, and I would say another thing about it is like, you don't even have to like be pro-America or anti. What you can just say is it's reality. The tariffs are reality now. How are we going to get out of it? That would be the smarter way of dealing with it. Just say, okay, are the tariffs justified, unjustified? They're reality. Who cares? I would just say it that way. But they just felt like, like, I think they have to not be scared of their own shadows and take risks. So it's like, risk nothing, gain nothing. If nothing risk, nothing gained here. And I've even heard from conservative MPs that are like, yeah, just advisors want us to do it this way. They're just convinced that this is the safer route for us. Just talking about policy, like, criticizing the Liberals as, they're serving their corporate buddies over at Air Canada. It's like, are they though? Or is it just the Liberals are cowards and they don't want to, tick off people going on vacation? And so they're against it's kind of a bit of a combination always why the Liberals do what they do, but don't start like adopting NDP talking points. I feel like that's the dumbest possible thing you could do. Sorry, I'm trying to rework the structure here.
Was that? Go ahead.
Oh, I think I got a good one. Okay. New camera structure. There we go. It's easier to see us.
Oh, nice.
And people can see that up.
I think politicians are. I think they take for granted that the Canadian public is not smart enough to understand bigger concepts. So Orange Man Bad is at the intelligence level of the Canadian public. And I'm not saying that for myself. I'm saying it for our politicians. I don't think they want to explain the triad problem. I don't think they want to explain the crime problem. I don't think they want to explain that America isn't the great big mortal enemy. I think they want to win. Maybe the Conservatives want to win and then do something about it, but they certainly don't have the chutzpah to actually approach the problems and tell the public. Like I've been saying, Poilievre has the ability. First off, apple-eating Poilievre, the Poilievre that we all know, has the ability to call a press conference and have the national media there streaming it live, and he can confront them and he can combat them and he can lay down facts and he could do this thing, and he could do it in a very Canadian, polite, sort of civil way, and maybe wake some people up to some of the realities of what's going on in the country. But instead, whether it's just Jenny Byrne or whether it's some other collection of advisors, they've just said, take for granted the fact that the Canadian public thinks the way it thinks, and then cater to that and hopefully cobble together a win. And like, I would really like to see a resurgence of actual leadership, which is, we have this idea, here's why this idea is right, and we're going to try and convince you of the merit of our position rather than trying to figure out what the public thinks already and then feed that to them. I think that's a big problem in politics. And there's an overarching fear that goes along with that, the fear of confrontation, the fear of actually having to make that argument and having people hate you that are going to hate you anyway. Like, they're not going to stop hating you because you tried to cater to them. Like, ask Ford. They still hate him, and he's having lunch with Freeland, and he's having lunch with Carney, and Tim Houston's coming in. It's one big family, and they still hate him. It's not going to change.
And that's that. And you're right. I think also when you don't actually change anyone's mind on an issue, you're not going to win their vote. And so when you just let people sit in the current stasis, they just stay at their current opinions. They're not changing any of their opinions. Why would they change how they're voting if you're not making them change their opinions when it comes to politics? It's people holding battery.
These independents are failing hard, eh? Like, there's maybe 20, 25 of them that got a single vote, and then the rest are just zero.
Yeah, we were looking at this earlier, Clyde. Look at it cuts off. Look at that. Like, that's the last guy to have a vote. And then after that, there's just like, woo, all the way to the bottom. Oh, wow.
Well, that's the 200 some odd candidates, right?
Yeah, it's like 198 longest ballot committee candidates, or even more, like 200 or whatever. It might be like more like 205. I actually don't know how many.
When you show up to vote,
here's all the actual parties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know that Spanner is an actual candidate.
Might beat the Libertarian.
So there's like 204 fake candidates, and maybe a handful of them have a vote. Probably just some young guy voting for one of these guys as a joke, but that's it. Or someone goes into the polling station, they're like, oh wow, that's a lot of candidates. Who's running again? Oh, I'll vote for that guy. And then they just write down someone with a simple name. Because I guarantee as you go down here, there's lots of names in the zeros where like no one's going to write down Kathleen Gudmundson's. No one's going to write down Jacqueline Grabowski. Like, there's just, Michael Lewis Fitzgerald. Like, kind of longer names people are not going to write down when they already don't care about you. It literally just comes down to that.
Any vote had to be written in?
Yes.
Okay, so they said they're not printing the long ballots. They're just going to do a write-in ticket.
They don't even have the capacity to be able to make a ballot that long because it was already over a meter in Carleton with 91 candidates, and this is 214. Although that would have been
20. In my opinion, I think that just handed it to Pierre.
If anything, I could see a lot of people being ticked off. Like, nobody wanted to consider another candidate but Poilievre in this by-election once the longest ballot committee started screwing around. Would it have hurt maybe Poilievre if there was actually that super long ballot? Sure, because you're going to get some default voters who usually vote conservative, but they're not diehard supporters. They'll walk into the ballot station. They'll be like, oh my goodness, this is what I have to vote with. And they'll look for like a few minutes trying to find Poilievre, and they'll just be like, X here. Okay, bye. And then they just leave, and they voted for, let's find a random name. John Francis O'Flynn. That's who they voted for. But now that you have to write it down, no one's voting for John Francis O'Flynn, or Wallace Richard Rowat, or other people.
The headline at CBC right now is Pierre Poilievre jumps to early lead in Battle River-Crowfoot by-election. I'm not even kidding. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, guys, fucking call it, guys.
Yeah, they haven't called it yet.
That's really funny.
Oh, they're terrible. They're so bad. Like, they don't even pretend anymore. Like, come on. Oh, there we go. CBC projects Pierre Poilievre will win Battle River-Crowfoot by-election.
Oh, it's in. The shoe's in for Pierre now.
Yeah.
Because they've called it, finally.
He has the upper hand. Can he hold on?
I'm glad somebody has the power of prediction in this country.
Maybe we're gonna find there's like a Bonnie Critchley cult, and they're just gonna start counting all of the this towns and cities that she owns, and it's just gonna be thousands of people busting down the doors to vote for Bonnie, just fighting in the streets, assassinations going on to prop up her political fortunes. Oh my goodness. I clear some up of some of these super chats, but we have Raptor Guy for $5 saying, and Carney kicked out Chandra Arya when he could have run in Danforth Eglinton since Marco Mendocino wasn't running again. Well, it was a convenient way of him eliminating an MP that he didn't like in the Liberal Party. So he got rid of Chandra and Nepean. And I also think that Carney's probably lazy and wanted to riding right next to Ottawa, so he had no excuse. He had no reason to ever visit his riding because he can say, "Oh, I'm always there." I'm always there because, my riding's 5 minutes from the capital. But we have Samuel Peralt here saying for $27.99. Well, thank you for all the support, Samuel. This was my riding, and trust me, everyone, my surrounding Rose looked at her as an angry blue-coated liberal who played as a rancher but runs a hippie little hobby ranch. And again, I don't want to be rude, but that is kind of what she came across. She was like this granola candidate who'd be running for the Green Party out on Vancouver Island. A little bit of that. Someone who had a chip on her shoulder, and that's why she was running, which is not really a great reason to be running for office, that you just resent somebody else. Like, Clyde, you weren't on when we were talking about this. Did you watch any of the media coverage, all the podcasts about Bonnie Critchley? Like, I know you didn't watch them, but you were aware of all the media coverage.
Media coverage of her, of Bonnie?
Yeah.
No.
It was cult-like. It was like the idea, is this lady going to trip up Pierre Poilievre? Maybe she's not going to win.
She's the vet, right? She's the vet one?
She's, the veteran. And, great. Good service. That's great. I don't like when people start she's against Poilievre, so I'm just going to start mocking her and whatnot. I don't really care. My thing is, it was just such a front. It was such a way for the media to promote the non-Poilievre candidate. And it would have been too obvious for them to say, go vote for is this Liberal Party candidate going to take him out? So by seeming,
I didn't really see anything wrong with her. So I don't know. Maybe I didn't read that much into what she was about, but the stuff that she did say, I didn't see anything really wrong with it. And she didn't come across as someone who was disingenuous. She just seemed like she wanted to run and genuinely thought she might be a better candidate.
My thing with her, though, is that the problem was that her presenting herself as you should vote for me because we need a local who represents us. I'm like, but if you're honestly looking around, do you actually represent the politics of the people in your riding? And then when she was going on podcasts and saying that Danielle Smith is a traitor and all this, and that we've been sold out, I'm like,
oh, what? She said that?
Feels like you have a bone to pick, and it's not, the election isn't about the election. It's about you going on some podcasts. Maybe some advisors from the Liberals said, hey, if you run, we can probably get you slots on all these different podcasts and shows, simply because they want to promote a local candidate, a local hero to take on Pierre. And that's why, when you digged into her politics, it wasn't somebody who, I think it was someone who had a chip on their shoulder more than anything.
She doesn't look like the type.
The type to what?
Have a chip on their shoulder politically. Not at all. I didn't get that at all. I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
Very dry. My apologies.
Like I said, I didn't know much about her. That's all I gotta say. I didn't think she was I didn't think anyone else was gonna win.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted
to observe is by how much is Pierre gonna win? Because if it dropped off and there was a lot of support for other candidates, that would go to show, maybe Pierre's not as people aren't as enthusiastic about his Pierre as they were about the guy that stepped down for this position. So yeah, it looks like Pierre has the same amount of support as the it's the same popularity.
Yeah, it's the kind of win he needed, to have all the talking points in hand. From his perspective, it had to be as big as the guy who stepped down.
Yeah, that's right.
I think people need to realize too, the reason why people really like Damien Couric is because they in fact actually really just like Pierre. like it's not nothing against Damien Kirk. Probably a lot of people did like him locally, but it's just a party candidate at the end of the day in a lot of people's eyes, and they voted really hard for Damien Kirk in this last election, not because of the magic of Damien, but because they wanted the federal conservatives to just win in general. So it doesn't really matter who you throw into the riding. They will vote federal conservative because that's just the brand that they want to succeed. And it doesn't really get any more complicated than that. So I think, again, the election had nothing to do with who's going to win. Everyone knew Poilievre was going to win. It had to do with how is the polling or how is the results going to end up for Poilievre in terms of, is he substantially down, is only at 68%? Because that's when you'd probably have the media start drumming up the idea that, he's kind of lost his shine, even though it's a by-election. Nobody cares. So many people know we're just going through the motions in a lot of ways. And I think the Conservatives, trying to avoid that, actually dumped in a lot of resources into the riding just to make sure their turnout was as high as possible. And, donors can assess for themselves whether or not that was a good use of money. But so far, it looks like they're able to maintain what they had or even exceed it from last time, because they had, I think what you said, Frank, was 82.4% with Damien.
82 and change, yeah. Lower than 82.5.
And we're 22% of the way through all of the voting from the different polling stations. So I doubt it's really going to change, because it's a rural riding. It's going to look pretty similar everywhere.
So it's just dropped down to 81.9%.
Oh, it did?
With who? Really?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
the downfall's happening.
The downfall. You're gonna have that, that famous graph,
Jonathan
right?
Bridges. Jonathan Bridges is coming up. He jumped from 32 to 40 in that tranche.
Yeah, I give
that is.
You know what? I'm disappointed Michael Harris isn't doing better. Michael's a great guy running for the Libertarians. He's been actually getting out there and like door knocking really, really hard. But I that really should tell you, it's just a riding. Honestly, I think the longest ballot committee even poisoned the well for anyone running but Poilievre. If anything, it's almost an asset to him, because everyone just got so turned off of anyone who wasn't the obvious guy who's going to win in the riding, because you're just one of those other 213 candidates. Get out of here. And it might have actually helped buoy up his support overall.
Yeah. Libertarians are always they're underrepresented in general, I think. Like, even as a fringe party, as you will, that only gets 1 or 2% of the vote, you'd think they'd pull 3, 4, 5%. Just the protest voters.
I just think a lot of people don't vote for commerce issues. You know what I mean? That at the end of the day, the Libertarian Party is a commerce party. It's about taxes and regulations and whatnot. And yeah, there's a freedom element to it, but it's very abstract for like the no average person. And even I don't find it particularly super compelling. And I'm a small government guy, but I kind of want like those small government fiscal policies and some other stuff. Whereas I find the Libertarians, they kind of stop short, and they don't, serve you a full political meal that people want to eat.
It's like herding cats. Everybody has a different idea of what libertarianism is.
Yeah, the libertarians don't really like to gather together and collectively move towards one goal. Kind of goes against the whole thing. But this person right here for $5, Theo, what is this? The Trollolol guy. The Trollolol guy. $5 super chat. I currently work for an MP, and generally feeling is that we will most likely be in an election in about 2 years. The question is who will pull the plug. And if the Bloc and the NDP both detect that they have a moment of advantage, maybe they'll do it. But I don't think it's going to be within the next year. Like, some people think like, oh, there could be an election any moment. It's like, no. I think also Carney's the type of guy who doesn't really like running. I just don't think that Carney likes electoral politics very much. He likes being in office, but he doesn't like doing the actual election thing. And so I think he's going to be the least likely to win an election, even though he has to work with a minority.
I don't think he likes being in front of the media or doing any of that sort of stuff, but he likes being in the seat.
Yeah.
I just want to say I heard a lot of these same predictions from insiders, from party people we're going on years now, and they were wrong up until, what was it, just months before the scheduled election. Because we heard the same stuff with the last minority government.
We had the rumor in 22 that Trudeau was going to try and call an early election on Poilievre in order to beat him. I'm like, that's such a dumb insider move. Do you not think that after 1 year since the last election, that they would get massacred for trying to call yet another election within a year? I have a rumor going around in British Columbia right now that David Eby and the BC NDP would call an early election this fall. 1 year after the last BC provincial election. No, it doesn't matter that the current BC Conservatives are broke and they've been shredding their platforms. It doesn't matter, though. Your own NDP base for EB would basically say, I'm not showing up for you. I just gave you a mandate. And not the base, but the sort of middle class individual who, when they were deciding on what party to vote for, they sided with the NDP. That person's not showing up if you keep calling elections. And it's like Trudeau. Aaron O'Toole was an objectively terrible conservative leader. Also, by calling a super early election just after 2 years since the last election, even that was 2 years. And his polling immediately dove as soon as he called the election because people weren't in the mood for it.
We could talk about Aaron O'Toole all day and how that is a case study in terrible leadership. Can you imagine changing policy positions during an election? Like you're in the middle of the election and you're like, yeah, nah, I'm not going to do that thing. And that other thing that I'm not going to do that either.
We're totally and on something as fundamental as like whether or not you're against the carbon tax or like in favor of gun rights. And it's like, wow, what's next? You're going to start saying that the Conservative Party doesn't actually know if it likes low taxes.
It was bad. It was so bad. And I think maybe that's why the country's asleep right now, because it's, Andrew Scheer's kind of, he's leading in the House right now, but he's a known quantity. The public's already passed judgment on him, and everybody's just sort of waiting for Pierre to get back there. So he's going to win this election. And then we still have, when does Parliament get back in session? The 22nd, 23rd of September, is it?
Yeah, I think you're right. It was because I'm always thinking of different schedules because the BC one is back in session in October. It's like late September, and supposedly they're going to have their budget prepared for then. I honestly think every time a bump in the road occurs, there you go. Every time there's a bump in the road, I think that they have to reevaluate all their spending yet again because they were creating a budget before, probably under the idea that they might get a trade deal. Now there's no trade deal. They probably had to throw a lot of their work out the window.
And at the end of the day, they can work on their own timetable and their own schedule. They've more than proven that they have no regard whatsoever for the typical trappings of Parliament. And the Canadian public doesn't seem to want to hold them accountable. If you look at all the latest polling, they're doing fine. They're doing fine,
yeah. Doing just
and it
fine.
Ain't fake. They're doing fine.
Sorry, I'll bring up the results yet again here. Oh my goodness, no, it's falling even more.
He's cratering.
80%. Yeah. How can he even call himself a conservative leader now?
Let's go to
80%.
Check the CBC. Poilievre cratering. Will he remain as leader? No, I'm kidding. Will he survive?
Bonnie Critchley, is there a chance? Get the recount going already. It's been stolen. $5 from Graham Finley, son, F-I-F-E. Your name confuses me, Graham. I'm just going to call you Graham. $5. Who is Brecca Zimmer and why did she get 300% more votes than the rest of the LBC candidates? The longest ballot ones. She might have actually been like a local person. That might be why Brecca Zimmer. I don't think getting 6 votes compared to like 2 votes or 1 vote is much to really write home about. Maybe it's just her stunning personality. That's why she's able to get that, command such support in this riding. Marco Perusa says for $2, Frank, I love you. Keep up the great videos. Well, good job, Frank. Your channel is growing a lot, and I have to, and you're doing it without monetization at all.
Here we go. Let's have it, boys.
I was going to say you should get monetized. You know what? Because the algorithm genuinely recommends videos more when they're monetized. And know what you do? you get monetized and you immediately go through your monetization settings and turn off every single ad category except for like Tropicana juice. Like that's all you'll have. Like just Frank Vaughn sponsored by lemonade.
Maybe
when the world gives you lemons.
Because that's I actually do that. I turn off all gambling, get rich quick scheme, alcohol ads, anything that's like sexually provocative. I have all those turned off on my videos because I'm like, kids watch these, and also
they got like that month-long approval process where they check out all your content. I got like 200 videos. It'll probably get me banned.
Did they?
Right now, the Sauron doesn't look.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't take a month.
It took me like 24 hours, and genuinely, here's the thing: as long as you're not like showing crime occurring on video and like showing like a murder occurring, nobody really cares. If you go through the process, they just see like, oh, it's some guy talking about politics, and he sometimes shows things on screen like articles. It would pass in 5 seconds. Like Candace Owens is monetized.
Okay,
not if Brigitte
Frank,
has anything
go
to
on
say
your
about
channel and blame Wyatt if everything goes down because of this. But Daniel L says, I respect Frank's position, and I respect your position too. I get it, not wanting to have to
such a controversial thing. It really is.
Back in the day, it was definitely a position where I 100% got it, because during COVID, being unmonetized was the only way to survive.
And it's a little different now. Like even pre-COVID, during the Trumpian rise, I got community strikes and things back there. And like during COVID, you could get banned so easy and permabanned and never come back. But there's, I say, like, I talk pretty frankly. I don't hold much back, and I see a lot of content in my feed because it's amazing what the algorithm kicks you out. That I'm like, that wouldn't have gone. It just wouldn't have happened 4 years ago. So I think the presence of X and Elon Musk's apparent commitment to free speech, because anything goes on that platform right now, including Asian bots, or fake Asian bots. They're not. No offense to any Asians out there who aren't bots. But I think its presence actually has had a liberating aspect, because even Facebook, like I've been kind of trying to thinking about maybe getting back into Facebook and created an account, and I've just been scrolling through the feed, and the stuff that's getting recommended to me again just wouldn't happen 4 or 5 years ago.
You are right. That's actually I've always never disliked Mark Zuckerberg as much as other people. I always found that he was like oftentimes the most willing to do the right thing. If everyone's doing the wrong thing, he won't do the right thing. But if everything starts loosening up, he'll be like one of the first people. Like, he was one of the he didn't go along and get extorted by the Liberals in Canada over Bill C-18. And generally speaking, he tried to not. He wasn't like Jack Dorsey running Twitter, where Jack would just banhammer everybody. If you even said specific words, you could get just like even if you were actually technically on his side, but just certain topics you couldn't talk about. Whereas, like, I think Mark Zuckerberg was always a reluctant censor.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Tell him if you're talking to him, tell him to give me back my Facebook page. There's like 14,000 people there.
My thoughts on Zuckerberg, not just Zuckerberg, but what's Bezos and all that ilk, is they're going along with where they know power is. And there was a moment in time when they were all being the good little Wilos, right? They were over in China and they were behaving like white dudes do in China. And that was a thing. Zuckerberg, Bezos, all of them. And then there was a shift. There was a definite moment in time where it all shifted and they all started being very Team America again. And that said a lot to me, because these guys know where the world is going. And when the world's going in that direction, and then they change their persona to fit that direction, Zuckerberg growing his hair out, trying to be like an MMA dude and saying that Donald Trump getting shot at was the most badass thing he's ever seen in his life. Yeah, he's playing a part. He's playing a part, but he knows where the world's going. He can't go into this new modern era as the good little Wilo with the stuff on his face. I don't know if you ever saw the picture while surfing and doing all that stuff. It's not going to fly.
Business leaders are survivors, man. And if you want to see a display of survival, get a long view of Trump's inauguration, the speech that he gave in the room where he had Bezos and he had Musk and I don't know, was Zuckerberg there too?
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, so they were all there and they were all seated on Trump's right hand. And then that's not even including the people that were in the room. Like the signal was so clear that the world, or at least America, is heading in a certain direction, and we want to keep making money. So here we are playing the game.
The public is asking what a Wilo is, Clyde.
Oh, what the heck is a Wilo? It's a derogatory term from China about white people.
Just some like compliant, propaganda, like useful idiot, basically.
Yeah. If you're a good little Wilo. That's
Max Genist says TikTok and Instagram do not have a monetization policy in Canada. The Canadian government is to blame. Oh, by the way, everyone, Canada's laws are terrible, and Frank lost his 14,000 follower Facebook page. I had a 74,000 follower Facebook page. Granted, I ran ads on it naturally in order to get it up on to that level, but yeah, that was just taken away. But anyone who doesn't already follow Max Genist should go follow him on X and YouTube. He does good content. He has a better looking set than me, so I both like him and resent him because he makes me look bad in many ways. Everyone has a better looking set than me usually.
I just have flags.
It's in a hallway. Worst, though. I just had the worst lighting ever before until I finally got these box lights, but now I have to take care of this stuff right here where it's reflecting, and that bothers me, and maybe most people wouldn't even give a crap, but I don't know.
Look at my glasses. Do you think there's nothing I can do about it at this point?
Yeah. You just have to I think it might just be just the type of glasses you're wearing too that does it. And obviously you're not going to change a pair just for that minor cosmetic benefit.
Depends on the lighting too. I've got fluorescence, and then I've got it's a piece of fabric that you put over the front of the light to soften the light. And this one actually came with a couple different layers of it. So I think I've only got one layer on it.
Maybe that's why you need to do some of this layer.
Plus, I'm firing it into a green screen, so there's not as much reflection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got this key light right here, and you just see it, and then I got screens all in front of me, so hard to avoid.
So what do we got this current results at? We're back at 80% with Poilievre, so he's gained a little bit of ground, as if it matters, obviously. But I'm just moving on to something else here. And Silent Tank for $20 says, yes, we need more people saying this. We are not unjustified. Okay, I get this person's point. Yes, we need more people saying this. They are not unjustified. We need to sort our country and border out. And I believe he's talking about the American tariffs on Canada. And we had did you see the story the other day? Both of you guys? I'd assume, Frank, you saw it. The head of the Canada Association of Police Chiefs came out and basically said that it's the border is currently the law is unenforceable on the border. We cannot prevent drugs and human trafficking and guns from coming.
Who said this?
It was the head of the Association of Police Chiefs, of Canadian Police Chiefs. It was in some conference in Vancouver Island, and he even pointed out, I didn't know this. This is ridiculous. Do you know that you can't even? It's not just that you can't search it. You can't even get a warrant to search a package going into Canada or coming out of Canada to the United States that's under 500 grams. So if you pick up a package and you're like, that feels like there's a lot of pills in this thing. It's like 495 grams. You can't check it, and you will never get a warrant to check it.
There's no mechanism in any situation. You could be shipping human body parts through the mail, and as long as blood wasn't sleeping through, I don't even know. If blood was seeping through the package, would you be able to get a warrant for that? I think legally you couldn't.
Yeah, you could.
It's bizarre. So
that would be like where it has nothing to do with the package. You'd say there is a crime occurring here. It has nothing to do with, I just want to search it. But
anyway, boys, I'm gonna have to bounce. It's
no worries,
a real pleasure. Maybe if you guys are still on, I can jump back on. I just have to be somewhere for a short period, and then I'll be available again.
I probably won't be running this thing for too much longer because I don't think that curiosity will remain that strong on if
Do you think that's going to change much?
Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to you guys again soon.
Cheers, Clyde.
See you, Clyde. Bye.
Yeah, I think if you're into calling elections, the National Telegraph could probably make it official at this point.
Actually, my mom texted me like 3 minutes ago.
Call it, Wyatt.
Yeah, but the CBC finally called it. That Poilievre has regained his seat. I'm like, guys, just as soon as the first poll comes out and he wins 85% of the vote in that poll, it's not an anomaly. It's what all the polls are going to look like. Maybe in some of the cities, is he going to do a little bit worse, like the small cities? Sure, he's not going to lose.
No.
But anyways, I want to get back to that point about the head of the Canadian Police Chiefs Association, and that's where it's like one of those things where it doesn't get that widely reported. I find most people who are aware of the border issues honestly come from watching your videos of seeing how bad it is. A lot of my knowledge comes from your videos, and it was one of those things where it's like it's too ridiculous to be real, no matter what figures and stats somebody shows me. If someone tells you only 1% of fentanyl is seized on the Canadian side of the border, my immediate reaction is no. I disbelieve you that somehow only 1% of the drug supply is coming over the Canadian border. The key word is seized, because if you get caught smuggling fentanyl or any other drug from Canada to the United States, you're an idiot. You're just a bad criminal if you get caught. You can just walk across the Manitoba-Dakota border. Who's gonna get you? And I need to look this up. I need to do some research.
Not to mention Maine and New Brunswick. Like, it's that easy.
Yeah,
it's that easy.
Just float across.
And Montreal or Quebec and I believe it's Maine they border. But I highlighted a report in a video I did recently about that very thing. And
the police chief head, he even said that we have transnational gangs that we cannot police, and they're set up near the border. These are not altruistic pro-Canadian criminals who only want to sell Canadian drugs. They'll sell it to whoever they can get the most money from. They don't care about violating a border law. We don't even have RICO laws in this country, so that either the North America's biggest or Canada's biggest, or I think the world's biggest drug lab being shut down, like the biggest one to ever be shut down in BC near, I think it was outside Kamloops or something like that, or it was somewhere where it's 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer shot to the border. Only one guy was arrested because we don't have RICO laws to wrap up the entire criminal organization, and anyone doing any little chores for it and whatnot gets arrested too. It's only the one guy that they were able to catch at the time, and that's it.
We are set up with a legalistic structure that successfully compartmentalizes triads and cartels on behalf, it's almost like the legal structure serves as insurance to protect organized crime, because you can only charge people in isolation. And that's only one legalistic thing. Without the media talking about it and without politicians talking about it, I don't think the Canadian public's ever going to get that it's so widespread. It's everywhere. Canada's overrun, and that's not hyperbole. That's the way it is. And so you even have the Canadian Police Chiefs Association. He comes out and says it. You have I think it's the Toronto Police Union tweeting, they're tweeting base tweets. They have been for a while. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I was reading some of their content and I'm like, man, they're based. And the media is just ignoring it. The politicians are ignoring it. And I find that really instructive. I think it's intentional. I don't on this one, I'm not sure it's idiocy. It seems like it's intentional to me.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where everyone will go back and say, well, the chart says that only 1% is being seized. And it's well, people can't even search any of this stuff. Yes, you can always say, and I always hate the fall. Yeah. I hate the fallback. Well, it's the American Border Services job to find this stuff. And it's well, the best way of checking if packages are full of fentanyl is when they first enter the mail system, not when they are, spat out to random distribution centers all over the United States. Where are they gonna? They're not going to take the packages coming in and then go through the extra effort of checking them all That's just not how that works. The American border services also are not in the business of doing Canada's work for them. America will usually find, like dangerous things in their mail from when it's being sent, not from when it arrives. When it's arriving, it's kind of too late. It's already penetrated the border.
Mm-hmm. And the idea that we can just, and that's such a Canadian thing to do, is to shrug our shoulders and just say it's someone else's responsibility to take care of the problem. Like if we're smuggling something into the United States, well, that's on them. Those stupids let it in. It's just, nobody's going to invade Canada. Well, why is nobody going to invade Canada? Because the Americans won't allow it. But somehow, you know what I mean? Like it's all part of a very hubristic Canadian mindset. And I call it Canadian. I know there's millions of people who don't share that mindset. But unfortunately, if you look at the way people vote, we're kind of outnumbered in terms of seeing it and actually wanting to address it.
And again, you'll get a lot of conservative voters who will even say the same stuff. And that's where I think Poilievre ends up getting stuck between a rock and a hard place, is that they have access to as much information as we do. And they know that it's not legitimate to say that there's no problem in Canada. But I think they believe that they will always lose if they start to call out the government's failures. And what you can do for your Poilievre, and it's not that difficult, just point out how basically the mismanagement on the border has allowed for Trump to have an argument in order to tariff us. It's the bad performance that is giving an excuse for then something that Poilievre can characterize as unjustified. It's unjustified, but he is given a good excuse by the incompetence of the Liberals. And I think that if you end up just parroting the Liberals saying it's fully unjustified, we should, we need to be like, we need to put Canada first and like put in counter tariffs. It's like, I would be always talking about the win-win scenario if I'm the Conservatives. Just constantly talk about how the real thing that we need to be doing is making sure that the Americans feel like they won and then we win at the same time. Because that's how you're going to get a deal with Donald Trump. I would just, if I was Poilievre, talk up constantly how Carney thinks he knows Trump. I know Trump. Trump wants a win in the situation. And there is absolutely a way for Canada to have a win and America to have a win. And it's called deregulation, lowering tariffs on both sides. It's not that difficult. I
don't think he's going to do it. Like, I mean, I want to hope that he comes back into Parliament and he has adopted some different messaging, but then I read the contents of his X profile. And recently, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe within the last week, no more than 2 weeks, I read a post and it was something like the best trade deal with the United States is one that doesn't have any tariffs in it, without mentioning the tariffs that we charge them in that structure. So it's like, it's to me just indicative that the talking points aren't really changing. I want to be wrong because I need to be wrong. There's this whole huge diplomatic path that should be trodden that, I don't know, everybody's afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's the anti-Americanism is something that a good politician would ratchet down, not ratchet up.
I like this comment from Laura in Alberta. Trump left a list of what he wants. It isn't a secret. Carney wants to blow it all up. That isn't a secret either. And this is another excuse I heard for Carney not getting a trade deal signed, is that because I was saying, well, why don't we get any idea of what the Canadian trade position is? And it turns into that CSIS thing we saw earlier. Well, they're not going to tell you what they're up to. And it's like, well, Trump tells people what he's up to, and he tends to get what he wants. And I know it's America, and they're more powerful in many ways, and it's not unpatriotic to point out that the bigger country with the bigger economy with a bigger population is more powerful. But like, we didn't get an indication of anything we were putting on the table, anything we were threatening. And every time I heard Dominic LeBlanc talk about it, it was sickening. And even Carney too, all it would turn into is we have so many shared values and our countries are better together, just like PB&J. And it's like, what is this? Can we have like adults negotiating this? This is like model UN, where we just stand up and say idealistic things.
We have. So I don't know if it was today or it was yesterday, but it was in my video today where I talked about Ford and his comments coming out of his meeting with Carney. And how he basically said, that guy down there, that Trump, he's unpredictable. And I'm like, how can you say Trump is unpredictable? There's nothing about, Maybe the Epstein thing's a bit unpredictable. I didn't really see it going the way that it's gone. But when it comes to Israel, he's predictable. When it comes to Canada, he was pretty predictable. He's pretty much signaled everything that he feels towards Europe, towards Canada, towards Russia, towards Ukraine, all of these issues. He's been very upfront and transparent. And yet our political leaders, our so-called leaders, they cater to this idea, this myth that he's unpredictable because a good chunk of the Canadian public buys it. And they play to it rather than, tell the truth of what's needed. They're just catering to the ignorance. It bothers me a lot because Trump is one of the most straightforward politicians we've ever had. And that's my opinion, but he seems straightforward to me. I'm not surprised by anything he's done.
Yeah. And this is actually something I want to go find here. I remember someone made a comment. I believe it was JJ McCullough on the Trump, the Carney meeting with I probably can't find it here. It might have been a reply, but I remember JJ McCullough said something I really agreed with. Isn't it crazy how in the very short amount of time that Mark Carney has been prime minister so far, how many times has he had sit-down meetings with premiers, especially Doug Ford, Doug Ford rubbing Mark Carney's feet at his cottage or whatever, and having all these premier summits where they sit around a table and they say, we should do better. Oh, okay, better is good. Oh, okay, let's do better things. And we how much time have we wasted? It was like during the trade talks, I kept hearing, oh, they got a card up their sleeve. Do they? Because apparently Carney's at concerts at night, and he's meeting with the premier of PEI for the second time, where he's been to the Northwest Territories 2 times since the election. Why? Great places. Why is he wasting his time? Why doesn't he show up to Washington saying, let's get a deal signed this weekend? Do something even just for the rhetorical political benefit. Why wouldn't you show up and look tough?
They don't want it. I don't think they want a deal, man. I don't think they want it. I don't think they want to settle anything. I think for whatever reason it is, at a bare minimum, for political reasons, they don't want the conflict with Trump to go away. It's too good politically. That's bare bones. I think there's far more to it than that. But they don't want a deal. What was it? Right before the trade negotiations were the trade deadline was set to expire on negotiations, Carney announced 24 hours or so prior that we were going to recognize the Palestinian state. And I'm thinking to myself,
and this is a week after we were harassing that Sean Foyt musician trying to go around Canada. And that was a federal issue because Parks Canada blocked him. And you think if you're the prime minister, you'd step in and say, who's going to be fired today for doing that? And it's no, that was above board, apparently.
Who's getting a raise? Who's getting a raise? But just the timing, you could have waited until the day after. Because Trump came out and his response on Truth was, it's going to make it really hard to make a trade deal because, he's very pro-Israel. He's very strong on Israel. And I'm thinking you could have waited until the next day, but you deliberately inflamed the situation. The timing's terrible. It's we seem to just want to aggravate them as much as possible.
And even before that, what we had with Trump was that Trump was basically saying negotiations. Well, there really isn't any negotiations. And it's probably because he's having his trade team tell him that they're not offering anything. They're just not doing anything. Howard Lutnick was probably entering a lot of these meetings with people like Dominic LeBlanc, and they're thinking that we're going to sit down and play ball, and okay, we'll weaken our supply management system in this way, or we don't want to do supply management, but we'll give you this. We will guaranteed buy a certain amount of this or that, or we'll give you maybe Canadians show up and say, well, we're going to actually bring the digital services tax back, and we're going to do all this other stuff unless you do this. And the impression I got from Trump and other advisors to Trump on trade issues is that it's that genuinely the meetings were childish, and that we showed up with Melanie Joly and Dominic LeBlanc and we said, pretty please, how about we just not have tariffs? And it's and this is where you just have to deal with reality. And people will be like, oh, so you're siding with Trump? It's I'm not siding with anyone. The reality is there's tariffs, and if you're not going to negotiate, surprisingly, you're not going to get anywhere. And you'll have people make excuses and say, well, Trump would break any agreement that we make anyways. It's like, well, isn't that convenient that we've tried nothing and we know that we're still in the right?
Yeah. Well, we're slowly isolating ourselves in the world too. So, I mean, Europe has struck their deal with Donald Trump. The British have struck their deal with Donald Trump. We are fighting a trade war, not just with the United States, but we're also fighting one with China, possibly on behalf of the United States as they try to work out their problems. And we don't have any strategic partners in this trade conflict because they're all abandoning us, kind of the way they abandoned Trudeau in the past. They'd get him to go out and say tough words in a press conference and then pat him on the head, send him home on a plane, and then Europe would cut a deal behind his back and make him look foolish. I think it looks bad.
It was embarrassing what happened with the UK and Europe, is that we had Carney early on, and this is even before the election, go to France, talk to Macron, go to the UK, talk with Starmer, and, talk to EU officials and sign some generic memorandum saying, hey, maybe we should trade more. And that's pretty much all it said. And then Trump swoops in, says, you guys are going to pay a 10% tariff and you're going to buy $700 billion in the next few years of American oil and gas. And I love the fact checks that people are trying to put on that. Is it even possible for Europe to buy that much energy in this much time? Who cares? They're buying some. And they're not signed on to buy anything from us. We could be supplying some of that, and we're just not. And then I love all the hedging that was going on. People kept saying, oh, well, Carney's signing all these deals. I'm like, yeah, but his deals are generic. It's just saying we should try trading more. They're not going to have any money left over to trade more with Canada when the EU's already committed to buying so much. And then we had this moment where we're like, well, at least we still got China. They're being tariffed hard. We're being tariffed hard. Maybe we can be friends. And then just like Xi just like kicks us in the, in the cack.
75%, boom. And and does it and that's a political hot button.
And which is a big deal because, they're our biggest canola export market.
And canola is a political hot target. So like if you're kicking Western Canada right in the sack and you're putting Carney on the spot at the same time, if they even know that they're doing that. But domestically, it's going to give a compare and contrast to the virtue signaling over steel and aluminum versus canola. That's a thing that's still developing. We're in such a poor condition that you almost have to believe it's intentional. I don't think all of these people are stupid. I don't think Mark Carney's a stupid man. I think
Carney, and yeah, I actually genuinely think Carney is a smart guy. I think you couldn't observe Carney and think, oh yeah, no, he's secretly stupid. He's not, but I think he's actually, his big weakness is that I think he's very entitled. What I've heard that from people who've worked with him in the Bank of Canada, it's sometimes somebody telling me what their friend said, but I've heard it multiple times before that he's very picky. He wants something a certain way, and he is not above, cramming down on someone and telling them how much they messed up, but never really taking responsibility when he does something wrong. And I think with Trump, he's almost wanted to avoid being directly involved in something where a mistake could be made. And so we're just not even playing the game because Carney's scared of making a mistake. So we're not offering anything. We're not demanding anything. We don't even know what's going on in the meetings, whether we're just basically having finger sandwiches with the American representatives. And they're like, well, what's going on here? Yeah, you can keep telling us that we're better together or whatever, but what are you going to do?
Can you sign this statement saying we're better together so that we can go and give a press conference?
We're better together. We're like PB&J. Come on. We're like guys. We're like graham crackers and chocolate. Come on. Let's get it together.
Your observation on Carney, though, is very apt. During the election campaign, there was that tour of a manufacturing facility or something like that, where he's caught on let's call it a hot cam. He's walking towards the podium and he's waving furiously at one of his aides to do something. We'll never find out what it was. And then there was another clip from the floor of Parliament where Jolie tries to lean over and talk to him, and he just waves her away. It's the quickness. You can see the lack of patience. He's very used to having his own way, and I think, and it shows in those moments.
And again, we have a government who, in a lot of ways, is used to playing on easy mode, and now when things are difficult, they just don't have the ability to meet the moment. This is a very petty thing I noticed, but I remember like Melanie Jolie when all this trade stuff was going on, and she's not the trade representative. It was Dominic LeBlanc, but she's still involved, and she's wearing this outfit in like the halls of parliament. It's like, are you like an advertisement for pumpkin spice lattes? She's wearing like, like mom jeans and like the knee high light brown tan boots and like a scarf and sweater. It's whatnot. Like, I feel like Starbucks is about to put some pumpkin themed things back on the menu just looking at her. And it's like, what is this really how our person trying to represent the government is dressing? And I'm not trying to be like, I know it's small, but it's like the fit and finish of our government is oftentimes just not serious.
If politics is part pageantry, you're not doing pageantry right. Do you remember when Freeland wore the T-shirt? I can't remember what was on it, but we're gonna I don't know. It was some kind of clever spin phrase when they were doing the trade negotiations the first time around. It's like they're putting on public display how normal they are. And politics isn't a theater for normal people. Like it requires some effort. It requires a little bit of packaging.
Be bombastic and theatrical in a certain sense.
You don't want to look plain and bland and like reminding somebody of pumpkin spice latte. Like that's not a good look for you in politics.
I just want to mention for people who care about the numbers. So we right now have Poilievre at 80.5% of the vote, 17,351 votes. Bonnie Critchley, and I give her a round of applause for getting this many votes, although the media helped a lot. 2,066 votes, 9.6%. And this is 50.7% of polls reporting. With that kind of a sample size, I'm pretty sure we're going to probably see it stay like this.
Yeah, be around 80.
And this is another thing about Carney on a visual level, too. This is also why I think he actually wants to avoid having too much direct contact with not just Trump, but just any other American government official. Because I think Lutnick and Rubio and a lot of these other people have better stage presence than Mark Carney. And I don't want to just say the generic thing saying, oh, he's like Mr. Burns, although he is kind of a little bit. But I used to do this when I was a far more awkward person, and I might even still do it depending on the situation. Don't stand in a room like this. He will stand there. Trump will be talking, and he'll be like this with his claws in the air. And Trump will be saying something, and he'll, Mr. President, and he kind of has this weird way of holding his hands like this and motioning towards somebody who he's talking to. It's very upper crust, upper middle class, London, England politeness. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't really work that way when you're dealing with Trump. Oh my goodness.
He's not a natural politician by any stretch. Like, he's awkward around the press. The clip of him, he was either going to the meeting with Ford or he was coming out of the meeting with Ford. I think he was going to, and he's coming up the stairs, and he has to know the media is waiting for him. But as he's coming up the stairs, he looks genuinely shocked and appalled that there's cameras there, and then he pulls it back together real quick. He's not that guy, he's not that guy, but I think he's a manager. I think he's here to manage Canada on behalf of the people who run the Liberal Party. And bigger interest than even they. Got to remember, he's a central banker. Running the Bank of Canada is one thing. That's big. Running the Bank of England, it doesn't get bigger. I don't even think a Fed chair is as important as the person who sits in the Bank of England.
I think that his career going between the Bank of Canada and England really says something about Carney, because he do a good job as the governor of the Bank of Canada? He actually did do a good job. And it's because better people than himself were telling him what to do. It was because Harper and Flaherty were telling him what to do, and he was generally executing his job description, keeping, the quantitative, doing quantitative easing and keeping the interest rates stable, not dumping too much money into the market too quickly and all that. And as soon as he became the Bank of England, the governor of the Bank of England, he now thinks that he knows what's up. And he starts trying to dictate to the government in reverse that here's my monetary policy, you better get on board or things are going to look really bad. It's like, that's not your job. And it is true what Liz Truss says about him, that he ends up screwing up a lot of stuff because he started basically trying to not just backseat drive. He's like sitting in the trunk trying to drive the car and not knowing what he's doing and causing massive inflation in an economy that he didn't understand. But he thought he knew, all the tips and tricks to running a bank or the Bank of England because he ran the Bank of Canada with Flaherty's help heavily. Yep. But I want to move on to some super chats. I'm not ignoring people. Raptor guy says for $2, I hope Michelle Ferrari replaces Doug one day. Absolutely, I would take Michelle Ferrari any day of the week over Doug Ford.
I'd take anyone. I'd take Bonnie Crombie. Let's go.
Legitimately, I'd take Bonnie Crombie over him. It's not because I'm liberal, but it's just like if you're gonna have a liberal in the government, get the liberal. Stop having a fake liberal. Yep. Because they have the same policies. Crombie was actually to his right, depending on an issue. She was the one calling for John A. Macdonald's statue to be uncovered again.
Yep, it's ridiculous.
Marco Perusa here for $5 says, Frank, can you read me a bedtime story with the lights off?
Probably not.
I think they just like your voice.
I think so.
Lost Bullet says for $2, would EC print a ballot if your name was the N-word? That sounds like a rhinoceros party thing to do.
Whoever's got a connection with the Rhino Party, maybe a libertarian can get it done. We can try legally change your name.
Yeah, or what you do is probably okay. I'm not trying to help someone do this, but the way to do it is to make it your middle name, so it doesn't really ever come up in normal everyday life, but you can insist on your middle name being included in a ballot. Marco Perusa, $2 says, I'd love to see a UFC match between Frank and Bonnie.
This is getting arcane. I'm not going to fight a girl.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if she's a veteran. Frank's like 6'7".
Even if I was 5'5", I'm not fighting any women. That's just not, I'm old school. Maybe I'm sexist. I'm not fighting girls. Forget it.
Yeah. Well, that's based on her history. She probably has a gun. Vincent Rastukia says for $2, what the hell is our culture now? We're fractured. And I think on a political sense, we have a really big problem in Canada with there being a big culture difference. Actually, not even in terms of East-West as much, but it's kind of like below the age of 50 and above the age of 50. Not entirely. I know a lot of people obviously are in that age demographic watching, and you're conservative. But there is kind of a personality of an upper middle class liberal individual in Eastern Canada who just, they own their own home, gated community, everything's nice, and they genuinely do not care about how other people are doing because they engage on politics on a more cultural level, not a political level of, here's a bunch of problems, we need to solve them. They engage in it on like, what are my values, which is a really bad way of engaging with politics because who cares about your values? Like, what's actually going to solve the problem? Obviously, I'm just doing this so that people are updated. Current polling or current results, Poilievre's at 80.8, Bonnie Critchley 9.4, and it's probably going to hold at that point. It's at now 80.7. If Poilievre keeps this, there's not going to be a single headline saying that he's fallen off or anything. And so I think a lot of the media attention
you're giving the CBC an awful lot of credit. I mean, 2%, they could spin that.
Who were the 2%? We interviewed the 2% of people who defected.
We're pretty sure that they were fence-sitting Bonnie Critchley voters.
Marco Perusa for $5 says, Frank, you have a fan in Marco Perusa. Frank, am I a bad person if I sub to Hillary Clinton's OnlyFans? Acid washing 10,000 emails drives is my thing.
You are a bad person if you subscribe to Hillary Clinton's OnlyFans. I'm sorry. I usually don't make moral judgments, but bud, you
know what
can
my favorite
do better things with your time.
My favorite thing that Hillary Clinton ever said was when she was at a press conference being asked questions about wiping the server in her house that was in her bathroom, that was like, being leaked all over the place, and how when somebody says, so did you wipe the server? Her actual answer on the spot, this is so obscure, you can't even find clips of it, but I remember at the time, she said, well, wipe it with a cloth or something? Like she asked, like she did that as like a question back, like acting quizzical. Oh, you mean like did I take a little Windex and wipe off the top? It was so funny. It was like had nothing. And so they're like, did you wipe the server? You wipe it with a cloth? Did I try and clean it every once in a while? I was like, oh my goodness, you're such a hack, but I love it. Max Jennis says Bonnie Critchley claimed that she's quote unquote centrist, lol. And that's where I know I don't hate her in any way, but I always just got annoyed with her saying like, I'm the true daughter of the soil because I live here. It's like, are you though? There's communists who live in every single riding. It doesn't mean that they represent the area because they know, particular streets in small towns.
But it sounds good.
I know.
That's all it is. Sound.
King Odie and Old Man Milo for $10 says, how much do you think Pierre wins by, and what do you think will be the by-election turnout? I can't wait for him to be back in the House of Commons. By the way, I love your channel. You're going to make 100,000 subs. Well, hopefully. Well, thank you for the $10 super chat. I think based on what we're seeing right now, it's probably safe to say that I think Poilievre is going to remain either above 80%. I don't think he's going to cross over to like 81 or 82. Probably above 79.5, and probably where we're at right now. Turnout at the moment is 28.8, and we're 59% of the way through. So we're probably going to end up with like 42% turnout, which for a by-election is pretty good.
Yeah. By-election is what, 35, 38?
Genuinely, I think the real result of this by-election is that Carney and the Liberals government's honeymoon is going to be over in September when the House of Commons reconvenes. They have this Air Canada fiasco. They have a lot of things going badly for them right now. And actually, we have Clyde again. Hey, Clyde, what's up? I was just saying that I think the real outcome of this election, this by-election, is just going to be that combined with the Air Canada thing and a lot of other minor issues with the Liberal government, with the trade issue. I think that what you're going to see is a lot more. The Liberal honeymoon is kind of going to come to a close in late August, September, October. I think that the shine's going to be off because of a lot of these screw ups, and then having Poilievre back in the House of Commons is going to make it feel a little more like a 50-50 affair than it had been over the past few months. Because the past few months, you would say the Conservatives rhetorically were very underpowered to the Liberals.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
said that like you're going to have some big like soliloquy. I'm sorry.
Everybody's being polite. Clyde's just like, sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. No, I got it halfway through. So I had to jump out because I was on Rebel News. They invited me over there for a quick segment. Prior to me even jumping in the stream in the first place. That's why I had to. I didn't want to say it ahead of time because then I didn't want like your viewers to run over to Rebel News.
I'd be fine with that. Honestly, I'd want to see your virile power of being able to move like 500 viewers over to Rebel. That'd be funny.
No, I didn't want to do that at all.
I was going to go on.
You guys could go watch the Rebel like highlights later.
What was kind of too bad is I assumed that they were going to live stream earlier in the night, because usually when it's like a Rebel or Juno or like one of the networks, they'll start earlier when they're doing a live stream. I thought I was hoping that they'd do that, because they asked me if I could come on, and I was like, can you do it like earlier where I can jump on at like 8:15 like PM like Mountain Time, and then have me on for like 20 minutes, then I'll go start my own thing. And they just they couldn't do that, but whatever. But sorry, I skipped over that one. Matt Scott says, for $2 you need a knuckle scratcher, not Pierre. Well, I think you mean knuckle duster. I think there's implied violence against Mark Carney.
I don't know.
Just more of a rough approach.
Yeah,
a knuckle scratcher, like you're talking like a knuckle dragger, right? That's like a dumb.
That's what I'm thinking. Is like knuckle duster, like a pair of brass knuckles, knuckle dusters or whatever. But forever, Mark Scott has given us a mystery to solve of what he meant. But yeah, right. Jason Curling says, for $6, if random third party person one would have 4 seats, minority government. Thank you. If some random person won, I assume some random independent, they'd probably be more friendly to the Conservatives, I guess. I mean, the Liberals, but that was just really never going to happen in this situation. Verinder Sindhu says for $2, Caroline Mulroney for Prime Minister. I don't have any strong opinion about Caroline Mulroney, and I think that's very purposeful. I just don't think she's a particularly compelling individual. Right now, we got
Mulroney last name. I don't know if we're over that yet. I mean, I get Bob Ray's still out there, so what do I know?
She, at the end of the day, in my mind, is a Ford loyalist, and that's why I still just don't really like any of the people associated with the PC party in Ontario. Are there some probably good people in there? Sure. I kind of need to see them walk away from the party and show that they can, show themselves doing something else before I'd ever consider them as federal government material.
Well, Ford and Houston showed their allegiances recently. They hang out with federal liberals. That's their thing.
And put it on display. They're proud.
Tim Houston has absolutely shredded his chance of trying to replace Poilievre, because the theory is that Houston was going to come against Poilievre and Ford was going to come against Poilievre and have all the local federal delegates try and undermine him at the leadership review. And then one of them would try and run to replace him in the leadership race. And it's Tim Houston absolutely shredded himself with his modular homes announcement, and then the things with the forest fires. It just zero political skill.
The things with the forest fire, the things with the infringement on civil liberties. I think that's how we should frame that.
Yeah, I know.
That's what that is.
His excuse on the forest fires being why. It was so stupid too. Who's walking into the forest if it's super smoky? People want to just go into forests where it's it's a nice day out. I want to go on a hike. And apparently we're going to you're going to kick up a storm and cause a fire by jogging too fast.
Well, that's the original thing. And then they realized how ridiculous that sounded. So they came out with a new strategy. And that was to say, well, we're just, if you go out there and you get hurt, we won't be able to save you. You'll take up resources to save you. There's resources that are fighting wildfires. So the nanny state won't be able to come rescue you from yourself.
Yeah,
that was
on the off chance that maybe you break a leg.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to take risks. And on your own.
Those excuses are always in play. They can always say that there is risk so that something can't be done or must be done. It's like the bike lanes in Ontario.
It's not a McDonald's ball pit, folks. It's the wilderness. It's dangerous.
There's a small amount of implied risk when you go in the bush.
But and that's it's like with the bike lanes in Toronto, an issue I actually agree with Doug Ford on. It doesn't matter what the risk, what the positives and negatives are. The provincial government is allowed to order bike lanes to be removed, but a judge is stepping in and saying, no, bike lanes are now a human right. And when I said that, some people are, well, the judge didn't technically say it's a human right. They said that there would be bodily harm. I'm like, shut up. That's always true, which means it's it's a human right now.
Oh, I gotta look that up. You guys talk. That's hilarious.
Yeah, you know that one yet? That was a great one. But we have Juggaloo King 69 dope for $2 says we need to go the way of Britain before we see the light. Well, hopefully not. I don't want to become as bad as Britain in Canada. Are you seeing that? See, Frank's in real time.
The problem is when it goes that far, is no reeling it back. You don't become North Korea and then all of a sudden everybody realizes, hey, wasn't it so much better to have liberty?
Yeah. In Quebec, it's almost as bad as the UK, and they haven't turned it around. Maybe not in terms of the migration problems in Quebec, but in terms of civil liberties and the kind of culture that's there. We have Joe Bobby Cat for $20 says, just saying hello, Wyatt, Frank, and you too, Clyde. Better than nothing. I guess that's your...
That's our slogan. That's the big Clyde. We like you. It's Clyde. You're better than nothing.
Clyde, I genuinely want you to show the bag of your coffee that you now sell, because I actually get a kick out of it. I find it funny, and I fully enjoy your product.
I'll go get it out right back.
Okay.
So many plays on his channel name. Clyde do nothing. Clyde do something. He was called Clyde Sing in our the Friday stream we did together. That's a new one because he went to that conference.
And now you have to
Weren't
see the
there?
coffee brand. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Trying to go. Oh, hey, Remixer Darken says dark roast is fine, but I prefer cream and milk in my coffee. I hate dark roast coffee. I like
dark roast.
I like
We've got all kinds.
I like mild coffee.
This is the. I'll put it up to the camera. This is the ecological decaf. It's
Wait,
the
maybe
Clyde.
I'll see if I can move you to the main person on the stream. Can I prioritize you?
Yeah. Down at the bottom, each one of us in the waiting room has like a little thing next to us. It's like
there you go.
So this is the Clyde Brew Something lineup. So you see my logo as a mug instead of the silhouette.
I love
it. This one's the ecological decaf medium roast coffee. It's natural Swiss water decaffeination. I don't like the chems and stuff. This is we roast this is roasted right in Vancouver. It's great. Roasted in Burnaby, BC. And you have to say Burnaby because it's there. But we have three in the lineup. We have the decaf. I like the decaf. But we also have the MAGA medium. We call it the MAGA because we're making Americanos great again, folks. That's what we're doing. And then the dark roast, which is the dark humor morning coping mechanism. That's the thing that if you really want to like it dark, you're really gonna like this coffee. Get yourself some. Go to ClydeDoSomething.com and it's right there. And you get yourself a shirt. We got some.
I really like the logo and the name and everything. You somehow have stumbled across a channel name that is actually very dynamic.
Yeah, do you want me? Can I give a sneak peek of the shirt we just made for the channel? You
can do that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is a cool one.
I'll give you the solo.
Doing the whole weeaboo thing.
Dang, that gives me an idea.
That's the new shirt. So looking forward to that. We'll be putting that on the store very soon.
Anime Clyde has a much bigger beard than normal Clyde.
Yeah, I give it trim, but I could grow it out.
Just get stuff stuck in it.
Jilly Bean says for $5 for the BS that Canada's put the U.S. through, they should invade Canada. Then we can show them the way to Ottawa. Well, yeah, I don't think I can endorse that, but I get the sentiment there. Marco Prusa for $2 says, Wyatt, can you read the super chats I gave Frank? I have now, and Frank was disturbed on an emotional and spiritual level.
I think 2 out of 4 were disturbing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you weren't here, Clyde. He wants Frank to read him a bedtime story in the dark.
In the dark, specifically.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No thanks.
It's gonna be hard to read you a book in the dark, but whatever.
Just gonna have to start talking like this. Yeah. Let's change my approach a little bit.
Sully Connect for $10.
Would I be successful, you think? Would people listen to me talk about Trudeau and Poilievre? I don't think so. I don't think it'll work.
Oh, this is why I love hanging out with you guys. You're funny.
What to do with Frank now? Okay, Sully Canuck for $10 says, "Old boomer vet here from Andrew Lawton country. I haven't been swayed by the leftist bullcrap." And yeah, naturally, they're still in the group of voters above 50, voters above 55. Still 37% are voting conservative, or 35% are voting conservative. It's not nothing. The liberals are disproportionately winning older voters, but again, it's because naturally, when things don't hit you as hard, you're going to be more willing to vote for luxury things. Your politics become luxury politics. I vote because I'm tolerant. I vote for equity, and I vote for a lot of DEI voters are frankly going to be older women because you own your own home and you live in a safe neighborhood. You don't care about housing policy, so you can your climate voters are older voters because they have the luxury of voting for climate issues rather than
luxury beliefs, for sure.
Yeah. And we have Marco Perusa again for $5. Frank, if Doug Ford was a pie slice, what would he be? Pumpkin, cherry, meat pie, or communist? I don't know what a communist pie is.
Yeah, I get commie pie if there's commie pie. Otherwise, he'd probably be cherry pie because I don't like it.
Cheese and onion.
Certainly not pumpkin. Meat pie's okay.
Full of calories.
Cheese and onion.
Yeah.
He'd be a cheese, onion, and bean. He's a very gassy pie to get through.
You know what he'd be? He'd be one of those like cheap welfare pies that somebody puts together by just cracking a Campbell's soup can into a pie crust and just like let it like evaporate in the oven.
Yeah,
Jail cake.
Jail cake.
Jail cake.
I just had to get
Crushed
the Campbell's soup in there in the insult.
You have a lot of people.
I want that too. I want a mug that says "Hi guys."
Well, I want to here's what I was going to say. So the CJR 902 guy, I want a Wyatt Claypool mug that says, "Hey guys." You know what? Goodness, I have to sometimes re-record myself saying that. I'm not even kidding. 45 times before I get it right, because
you get the "Hey guys" wrong.
Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. When I'm talking right now, I can kind of flow well. When you have it's 11 a.m. and you have not spoken to anyone in the day yet, your mouth is a little cottony and you're like, hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. And then you kind of take too much of a breath and it's kind of weird. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go back. So it doesn't have this weird break where I'm just staring at the camera like, I mean, like it's maybe I'm just paranoid, but sometimes
it takes you a while to get the hey guys right.
No, sometimes that's
not the thing I'm amazed by.
I know it's so bad.
It's 11 a.m. before you see anybody in the day.
Well, I'm at home. Well, I'm not like going out and like, hanging out with people or whatever. Like, all my jobs are remote. I do go out a lot, but I kind of wait a little bit or I go out really early. But even then I'm talking to someone over at the counter at a store for like a minute. You haven't knocked out all the cobwebs, and I drink way too much coffee. And so I like have a really dry throat halfway through the day, and I've like trying to drink a bunch of water. But sometimes you get in your own head and you're like, hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. Any of the here is too long. And I'm like, that's so flipping weird. And I have to go back.
You got to go with those. Those are the best ones. You got to do it.
The best ones.
Someday there's going to be a compilation of all of your cold opens.
I'm going to become like that. There's this one guy, Dash Dobrovsky. If you know Dash Dobrovsky, he's like a Democratic propagandist in the United States. And people just scroll through all of his TikTok videos. And every video, he usually is trying to say, a video will start with like Donald Trump did blah, blah, blah. But his signature is always saying big news. And he always says it in such a way where it starts sounding like pig news over time. And I love the idea that as you're scrolling through, it's just like pig news, pig news, pig news. It's just, I actually want to find that compilation for people to watch. But first, on what CGR
I've seen that one. Said, I don't know why, but obscurely, for some reason, I've seen that. Maybe you shared that with me.
It was something that was like, I think it was probably going around in like early 2024. But to what CJR 902 is saying that he wants the mug that says, hey guys. My idea was like a t-shirt or a mug that just had the initials of, hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. Because it actually kind of is like an acronym that kind of works visually. And I like those things that if somebody else knows what it is, they recognize it, but nobody else would recognize it.
I think you should do a shirt that is like a glamour shots of you. with the the laser background from like 8th grade, but like you standing there like with your hand like on your knee. And then like the second shot just like mosaicked in. I think that would be hilarious.
Okay, guys,
on the whole shirt too.
I'm gonna show the results first, just so people can be satisfied knowing where we're at. Poilievre, very very poor
PPC
result.
Almost 100 votes. They're almost there.
79%. Bonnie Critchley,
dude, he's in the 70s.
She's gonna clinch it now. Obviously, I actually think at this point she could get 100% of the remaining vote and still lose. That's how far ahead he is. But I want to jump over to the Dash video because it's funny. This is out of left field for a lot of people, but I find it funny, so that's why we're gonna look at it. What here's all of Dash Dobrovsky's cold opens.
This.
Oh boy, great news. Oh boy, it has just been revealed. Big news, big news. Oh boy, here's a video of it. This is what oh boy, this is it, guys. Big news. Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, it has just been revealed. Oh, here's a video of, oh boy, Republicans are free. Oh man, here's big news and big news. It has just been revealed. Big news, more big news. Oh boy, it has just been revealed. Oh boy. So Donald Trump, big news. So Donald Trump, big news. Oh boy, big news. This is crazy. Fox News. Oh boy.
Yeah. So that's
Wow.
all. Now you got a full serving of Dash Dabrowski.
Cocaine's a hell of a
I
drug.
love how it sounds like pig news, like it's just some like farming show or something like that.
That's something I think when you're doing shorts, you have to do. You have to start it off with something that's like way over the top, like I'm gonna blow your mind or something crazy.
You wouldn't even believe.
It's got to be a catch.
Yeah.
I that's where even some like I can't stand. I hate the kind of thumbnail where it's again the person like just pog face or whatever you call it, and the person's like, "Whoa, is this like actually?"
I do all of those thumbnails for you now every time, Wyatt.
I will put myself in a thumbnail, but I just screenshot I just keep like pausing the video after I film it and just screenshot myself at a point where I'm like kind of like or whatever, and it's like just looking normal, but. I don't like the goodness. I need to find this thing. It was annoying me because it was just stupid on like a bunch of levels. Okay, it's this. It's a video by Nick Fridas in the US. And this is the type of content I hate. It's Alberta 51st state. Alberta the 51st state. And it says, will Trump
I saw that this morning.
Alberta? And then can we do away with the thumbnail with an older, gruff-looking guy who's kind of stocky, kind of looking serious? Like he's going to get to the bottom of what's going on here for all of us.
But that's the guy. That's the guy in the video. That's the guy whose channel it is.
I know it's him, but my point is, can we do away with the channels that like start off every thumbnail is just kind of like a guy sitting there looking quizzical about something that's not even true? It's just not going to happen. But the thing is, like that type of content really sells in the US right now, because if you're in Alberta, you know that it's pretty unlikely that Alberta is going to separate. And it's even more unlikely that we would join the US, but there's some gruff looking guy like Alberta 51st state. Is that going to happen? It's like, no.
I'm on the other side of that one, Wyatt. I think that Alberta could separate. And
it could,
really
but my point is that 51st state is very unlikely.
Now, yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I've been holding this up, but so I think we've concluded decisively that Doug Ford would be a cheese, meat, and an onion pie. Trish Prolix says for $2.79.
Prue. That's Trish Prue. She's awesome.
I can't say people's last names. It's a famous thing I'm bad at. Hi, Wyatt, Frank, and Clyde. Hit the like button. Yeah, guys, go hit the like button. By the way, I need to really link your guys'
Good to see you, Trish.
Good to see you, Trish. Yeah, there's reoccurring characters across a lot of the channels here.
Trish is awesome. I've met her a series of times in real life. So she's come out to the We Unify conference last year. She came out. She came all the way to Squamish for a get together we put together. And Marty and I.
Are you showing up to We Unify here?
Yeah, I'm going to be a speaker.
Okay, I'm there too. I'm just linking people's channels. If you guys want to go follow Frank and Clyde, they're good channels. Especially go follow Frank. Clyde's got enough subscribers.
Yeah, don't follow me. You won't like me anyway.
Don't follow.
Actually, go and unsubscribe from Clyde.
He's just a scrub. He was pulled in last second, you know.
I heard that Clyde's a bad person in a video that Derek Smith put up and then quickly deleted.
Yeah.
Wasn't Slupinski going at you too for being far right? You and Marty?
Slupinski went at everybody, and when he went at Amy Ham, I was like, I'm enough. I've had enough of seeing this guy in my timeline. Blocked.
It's Mark doesn't go after me, so I'm fine. I think he's a character. And is he silly? Is he out of his mind? Is he just clout chasing? Yes, but that's what makes it hilarious, because he's just so obvious. He's so transparently stupid. You know what I mean? He's transparently just getting attention, trying to get attention. So the whole thing just becomes a farce in my mind.
I got zero time for that.
I know, but it's just more so like I've known him from so long ago and met him in person. I'm like, it's just funny to me at this point. Anyways, so, but yeah, with the election results right now, we have 79.6% for Pierre Poilievre. Bonnie Critchley has a respectable 10%, and the Liberal candidate 4.6, NDP 2.3, United 1.8, and the rest, let's be clear, you do not care about.
10% is kind of impressive. Like, I mean,
it is, especially in that riding against that guy, Pierre Poilievre.
Like,
that's pretty impressive.
The NDP, you might think the NDP might do a little better because they're the second largest party in Alberta provincial politics, and there they are, half the Liberal vote and a quarter of Bonnie's vote. They're pretty dead.
Oh, and the PPC getting their 0.4%. What do you think is going to happen with the PPC? Because you're our resident PPC expert, Frank. What do you think is going to happen in the next year?
I'm probably just going to gimp along and be there and annoy the rest of us. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Like, I don't, I say that there's no structure, there's no plan to win, there's no plan to advance the party. There's no real leadership. I don't understand a leadership cult gathering around a person who doesn't really do that. I don't think it's going to go away, though. It's got too much money. They didn't spend enough last election. So
they actually have, they just have reserves of cash they can keep doing this with.
Yeah, as far as I understand, they've got cash in reserve. Yeah,
I love that Western Standard headline, and they're just covering the news, so I get it. There was nothing wrong with what they did.
I think.
Yeah.
Let me see.
He might only be like 59 or something, isn't he? Maybe 60.
He's 62. So His birthday's in January, so we'll give it 3 more years. Full pension kicks in at 65.
Who's this?
Maxime Bernier.
Oh, Max Bernier. Okay, so when he gets his full pension, he's going to give up on the grift, you think?
I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what his motive is. Like, the whole idea was to create an alternative party. There was a moment in time where there was actually room for it, I think, and it's just been squandered. The opportunity, it's just not there now. It's not there now. Pierre's not going anywhere. They could parachute in Ford. They could parachute in Tim Houston. He ain't going to win. None of them are going to beat him. Like, he's the guy. So, and the PPC is not going to displace him. 0.7%. They got 5 in 21, and I think we got 2 in 19. So you're going the wrong direction.
When is the next leadership race? Or
what do you mean for the federals?
For the federal Conservatives, yeah.
So there's a leadership review in January at the convention in Calgary. And so what happens is if Poilievre doesn't pass it, he doesn't get 50 plus 1%, he has to step down. Naturally, that's not the real number. If you fall below 75% as a conservative leader, you really do have to step down. And I think the real line for Poilievre is, can he get above 80% on the leadership review? It's a very different kind of a review than would happen for someone like Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith, anyone who buys a ticket to show up to the AGM, like I'm doing for November, anyone who shows up when it's a leadership review AGM, which only happens every few years, you can cast your ballot on if she stays or she goes, but there can be as many people from any riding. If a riding has 10,000 people that show up, technically that's okay. That's obviously not going to happen, but in the federal case, only 10 delegates per riding, and I believe plus the MP, or maybe riding president, or I think the riding president gets added automatically as one of the 10. So insiders who have been around for a long time can have chips on their shoulders and cannot like very particular things that the party does, and they're very aware of nomination race shenanigans, and they don't like Jenny Byrne, or they do like Jenny Byrne, or they want Corey Denike to be the new executive director, or they don't like Poilievre as a leader because they like Doug Ford a lot and they're a Doug Ford loyalist. That's where you could see Poilievre being in more danger than he would be if all of the conservative membership was voting. If they were all voting, he'd win 95%. If insider delegate types vote, you could see him falling below 80% in theory, depending on the mix of people who show up.
So then it goes to an election.
Yeah, and if he doesn't get a good enough amount of support, he could be, effectively forced to step down by the party, saying, "Hey, only 65% of people like you. That's really not enough to go into an election with. You got to be like the guy. You can't be.
You can't.
Yeah.
Who next? Who next? Wyatt, you're the political guy. Who next? If not Pierre, who?
I don't think they should replace him. because my thing was that the risk would be too great in trying to get someone better, and I don't think that there are as many people that you would describe as better. And even then, I don't even know if they're better. We have not seen them act as leader. If Jamil Giovanni became leader tomorrow, I wouldn't care. That would be fine. But I don't think that Jamil would probably run and win. And so, of all the viable candidates, Poilievre is still much better.
Yeah, it's got to be him for them. From their perspective, he's it.
Scotty for $5 says, supported all three of you. Chat please about the MSM and their predictable no comment about this. Ignore it and go away. Liberal 101. Well, I will no doubt want to watch the Power and Politics in the CBC and see if they retract a bunch of their stuff about Poilievre's potential weakness in Alberta.
The real compare and contrast will be between, if you go to CBC right now, and it is CBC projects Pierre Poilievre will win Battle River-Crowfoot by-election. Nothing about a landslide, but it's compare and contrast the headline now at 11:14 p.m. MDT to tomorrow morning and see what the headline is. Because I find it can change very rapidly in the next 8 hours into a different spin as they figure it out overnight.
Well, I wonder if they're just going to act like this is like a who cares. It was obviously this was going to happen, and it was obvious this was going to happen. But they're going to turn into Poilievre wins easy by-election or whatever, and they would kind of downplay it compared to how they had been playing up the idea that Poilievre could be very undermined by a charismatic local candidate. We have Marco Perusa for another $2 for Frank, saying, Frank, want to play hide the sausage with Doug Ford.
Oh, Marco, you're spending a lot of money to... I don't even know where this is going, man.
I just add up all the Marco comments and just send Frank a check, because
I could do a hot dog. I mean, or not a hot dog. I could do it. Never mind. I'm not even. I was getting nope.
Okay. Well, moving swiftly along, Leo Olkovov. How do I say this? Leo, you're killing me here with the name.
Olkovikov.
I'm going to go with what Frank said. Olkovikov. $5. Thank you for that. Thanks for supporting the channel. I knocked on 1,200 plus doors for Andrew Lawton. I love your show. IYO, what percentage of the vote would make Pierre Poilievre vulnerable during the leadership review? So I guess we just answered that. It would be that kind of below 80% number. For him to be really secure, I think he wants 85 plus. That's when... yeah, there are some red Tories who don't like him. There are some troubled people who didn't like the way nominations were handled. And by the way, nominations were not handled very well. I was kicked out of Signal Hill, as people know. What we have, barring some of those people voting against him, if he can get that, 85%, you would say, okay, yeah, there's some people who didn't vote for him, but his leadership vote is much higher than how much he won the thing by, how much he won the leadership by against Jean Charest. So I think he needs a really head and shoulders kind of victory, or else there's going to be those doubts.
And I just want to time out for a second. There was a comment that it flowed by a while ago, and it was a person in the chat was asking why Wyatt never mentions the New Blue Party, or why I never mentioned the New Blue Party. I'm not going to speak for myself, but Wyatt flew there on his own dime and knocked on doors for that party. I mean,
in February, I went out on my own dime, literally didn't get anything paid for, although I think someone bought me dinner because I flew out. Even then, I was one of those, fighting with somebody saying, no, I can still pay my own side of it for 5 minutes until you give in. I like the New Blue Party. In Ontario, I endorse people voting for the New Blue Party. 18 of the candidates who ran for the New Blue Party ran because they found out about it from this channel. There's some great people who ended up putting their names forward, and there's people who actually gained votes from last time. Naturally, the New Blue Party in their first election in 22 got 2.7% of the vote, and in this last election they got 1.6. But it was a snap election in the deep winter, and they couldn't get a candidate in every single riding, no matter how hard they tried, because it's hard to get someone to go out in the deep winter and collect 50 signatures for themselves.
And you can't underestimate how unimaginative the Ontario electorate actually is. I still run into all the time, if it wasn't Ford, the Liberals would be worse. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. I don't think anything would be different. Maybe it would be a bit more rainbows, maybe a bit more of that sort of stuff if Wynne had won in 2018. But in terms of the net provincial debt, in terms of the politics and the policies, I don't think it's any different. So I advocated during the election, it's a good time to vote New Blue. And then there was the other one, the Ontario Party. I mean, vote for either one. You can have your preference, but it's a good time to do something different. And then the night of, I said, hey, 120,000 people use their imagination. The rest of them, I don't know, I guess believe there was a difference between the main parties, and there just wasn't. And there isn't. And it sucks. No hot dog buns for Ford. It's not happening, Marco. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like Ford. Don't like Ford at all. Don't like Tim Houston.
Oh, come on.
$5 super chat from Marco Perusa. Frank, if you were skinny dipping with Doug Ford, what would be the first question you ask him?
No.
I don't even. Why are those two things?
They're not going to happen. I'm not going to be naked with Ford in a pond. Like, I'm assuming I'm. No, just no. Can't even speculate.
We can probably wrap this up pretty soon here. Simply because
there's nothing where you can add the word skinny and Doug Ford in the same sentence. It just
Well, he is Fat Trudeau, as we all know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel Boardman. If indeed it was him that created that, because I'm pretty anti-nickname. Like I don't like a lot of nicknames, but Fat Trudeau has just stuck with me to the point where I've even started using it. It's an exception to the rule.
Okay, so 83% of the vote is in. Poilievre has not 79.7% of the vote. Even the CBC finally said that yes, he has won. It's probably a good place to end this stream because we don't really need to keep meandering on about an election that the outcome was certain before, and we were more so here just to watch it all play out. I think what's your guys' main takeaway from today?
That it was a good stream. I had a good time. Yep, that's it. I mean, it's good. Pierre, he won. Great. 40 days from now, we might see him back in the house. Woo! In the meantime, I don't know. We're supposed to be in a series of unending emergencies with Carney on vacation and Parliament not in session, and onwards we go.
My takeaway here is this will all be for nothing if Alberta separates.
Fair enough. Well, my main takeaway is that even though I'm not paid to do this, there's a link to Clyde's shop if you guys want some of his coffee, because I know some people were asking about it, whatnot. So
it's delicious.
Yeah, you guys go try it. Clyde Brew something or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's Clyde
I've not tried it
because
I drink cheap garbage, but as soon as I see Clyde in real life, Clyde has to bring me a bag of his coffee, basically.
I'll bring you a bag of coffee, sure.
Heck yeah, I'll even pay you for it.
Oh, I'll just bring it to you.
I don't want to feel sponsored.
That's a good question.
What's that?
CJR 902 says if Trump came up with a nickname for Ford, what would it be? That's actually a good one.
I don't even have any guess. It wouldn't be Fat Trudeau. That's not his style. So it's got to be something else.
You'd probably call him the Crack Brother.
Something. Is that the one with the Crack Brother?
Yeah.
The one who's premier of a province, but he thinks he's mayor? Is that the one?
Yeah, you'd probably call him Canadian Chris Christie. So I kind of like Chris Christie, honestly.
He talks good.
Yeah.
Talks a good game.
Chris Christie but you know what? Chris Christie can be very cringe. Have you ever seen him argue?
Ford. There it is. That's it. Yeah.
Which one?
Flip-flop Ford.
Flip-flop Ford. Yeah, that's something you would call
I think Trump would have to be running against him to use flip-flop Ford. Like in a trade context, geopolitical, I don't know.
Doughboy's a good one.
Good one, though. Doughboy.
I can't see Trump ever wanting to talk to Ford because of all the stuff that he goes on American TV and says. It's just awful.
Uber comrade for $2 says Pierre Poilievre must go. He's the Rusted of federal politics. My thing is, you can find probably policies where I would say that Poilievre is too conciliatory to mainstream narratives on, like when it comes to America trade and stuff like that. My thing, though, is Rusted, post losing an election, has gotten softer on policy. He's ripped up planks from his party. They kind of oppose DRIPA. They actually are in favor of UNDRIP. They don't really push any fiscally conservative policies. They actually don't oppose Soji that much. They want changes made, but not really. Whereas Poilievre, upon losing the election, you can find flaws with him, definitely, but I would at least say he's learned something simply from changing his immigration stance. So I'm like something's changed, and someone could say it's just words, but it's like not in the same universe as John Rusted rigging his own annual general meeting for the party to pack the board, having these guys writing themselves in crazy bonus checks inside the party, and just tossing people out of caucus for saying, unpolitically correct things about the grave hoax and Kamloops.
Pierre is he doesn't speak up on liberty issues.
Yeah, and I think
that's one thing that's a real downside. He was very slow to come in support of parents who just wanted parental rights, and they were being flogged by the media. He was very slow on that. He was very slow. Like he's just too late to the punch always on critical issues that are controversial issues. If it's not controversial, if it's like I'm going to stand up for farmers that are getting tariffs or they're getting taxed, he'll jump out in front of that. But if there's any contention on the issue, nope. You just, it's like go see what the polls have said and what their focus group has said, and then ride with that.
There's certain issues you should be able to shoot from the hip on, and he doesn't.
Yeah, and liberty is one that you should definitely shoot from
the problem is that I know the official explanation will be, if it has to do with the provincial government, I don't want to get involved, to not stir up something. I'm like, you just kind of have to. Why are you letting them get in the way of, even from a purely selfish perspective, why are you letting arbitrary rules like that get in the way of your political career? Tim Houston's doing a bad job. Smack him. Go after the modular homes. He's a liberal ally. Ford's a liberal ally. That's why I like Jamil Giovanni on election night making fun of Doug Ford for thinking he's a genius.
Well, the provinces are active in federal politics all the time. They're singing their opinions from their loudspeaker. Yep. So the excuse doesn't hold muster. They've already broke the honor pact or whatever it is.
When what the provinces are doing is in direct conflict with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, it's a federal document, then federal participants should be chiming in.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, I think, and it's just such an easy win of an issue. Somebody is bulldozing civil liberties for what is effectively a COVID-like excuse. And you don't need to come in you don't need to come in and start just throwing chairs. You can just basically say, I don't know what Tim Houston's doing. It's overwrought, and I agree with the Newfoundland premier of saying that you can't police people going on a walk in the woods. That's all he has to say. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It just needs to point out that he's wrong.
Someone in your chat saying PP is all talk, but that's the problem. He's not talking on crucial issues. That's the only thing that's the thing. He's not in a position to do anything anyway. He's not the leader of the country. He's the leader of the opposition. He's supposed to talk. And if he won't even talk on those issues, then that's real lame.
Yeah. $2 super chat from Marco Perusa. Quote, power outage Ford for tariff debacle.
Marco, I actually chuckled at that one. It didn't cringe. Thank you. Money well spent.
You can on blackout Ford too. Niraj Muraka, says for $2, libertarian from BC, but pleased Pierre is back. Hey, if you're libertarian from BC, make sure you join the One BC party. We want to cut taxes under $100,000 by 50% and 25% above that. And then Scotty for $5 says, I doubt things might have worked out better when the West needed a federal representative. We get Pierre. He is our advocate for separatism, question mark. Well, my thing is that it's federal politics. I'm not sure. You can't really hope for a separatist member of parliament unless it's Quebec, and even their separatists are kind of.
Quebec's done good doing that.
What?
Yeah.
Quebec's done really
that.
good doing that.
Yeah, but my point is that there's not that cultural moment, and if you're trying to win federal government, you can't start to be the guy who I represent rural Alberta.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, he's not.
What's the cultural moment we need? Abducting and killing MPs. I'm not advocating for that, but FLQ. Why does nobody call that shit?
Marco Perusa for $5 says, "Hey, Wyatt, I have a car payment coming. Come have my money back." I can't help you spend your money better, Marco. But yeah, my thing is, Alberta's problem is there's too many people for separatism to work. There's too many people who were not born in Alberta. You know what I mean? Where Quebec, most people were born in Quebec, the vast majority. Whereas in like Alberta, there's people from Nova Scotia and Ontario and BC and Saskatchewan who don't necessarily want to break away from all those places. But
then go back to those places. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So I'm moving to Texas, and one of the things that I love about Texas is when you move to Texas, you assume
why?
What?
Not you. Sorry. The comment.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. I was just reacting to that.
You become welcomed into Texas and you become a Texan. And it's assumed that you're not that thing. You're a Texan. Yeah, you may have a background in something else, but you're seen as a Texan. And I think that's how Alberta largely is. I think a lot of people have that mentality in Alberta. And for those that do, I appreciate that.
Marco Perusa says for $2, it's okay. I'll go back to selling blood. And I'm just going to say and plasma on the second part instead of saying what he actually said. But with that, that's probably it for us today. Thank you, two gentlemen, for showing up on the show. What a way to end it. Yeah, what a way to end it. Marco Perusa scares me. And I don't like him. I kind of like him, but I don't like him. He scares me. But thank you for showing up, Frank. Everyone go check out Frank Vaughn's channel on YouTube. And, of course, Clyde at Clyde Do Something. Frank's channel is just his name, Frank Vaughn. And, of course, subscribe to the National Telegraph if you're watching and you are not yet a subscriber. And with that being said, see you guys all later.
Thanks for having me.